Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Pro Wrestling World Talks with Dan and Mac.
Good evening, everybody. Good afternoon or good morning, wherever you are. If you're in Florida, you're probably not watching us live or when this gets really uploaded because you're waiting for your electricity or the Wi-Fi to come back on, one of the two. I hope everybody that is down in the Gulf Coast, especially, and also on the other part of the state, the other side, more like Fort Lauderdale, and even in Jacksonville. I'm hoping that the rest of you, including some family members that are down there, including my own parents, they were down visiting some family, and then because over the weekend it was just a tropical storm. But then, of course, by Monday, things had drastically changed into the sense of that the place that they lived, that they, were staying at, evacuated. And then they had to find like a bed and breakfast in the highest point of St. Petersburg, just in the shadows of Tropicana Field, which got ripped apart like a can with a can opener. It now currently looks like the Silverdome when it was abandoned, when the roof caved in, but also with those roofs, those were air. This has more of a scaffolding, those goddamn scaffoldings that we all complain about if we're baseball fans because of how they always structured on, that's actually a double and not a home run. So many fucking times they would screw somebody over on that. Yeah, exactly. You're right, Homer. But those catwalks were the skeletal positioning of the dome. So I think, hopefully, in their sense, they'll be able to just put the Kevlar dome piece back on and be able to be back in business. 3 more years. They are going to be breaking ground in January for a new stadium, which is supposedly adjacent to where Tropicana Field stands right now. I don't know if this is going to fast forward that process because they don't know really when what structurally the dome is going to look like. It's interesting that I was just there back in January. And now by the end of the year, that this thing could be a relic of the past relatively faster than sooner. Relatively faster than in the long game. Of course, another 3 years, the building would probably be demolished anyways. I mean, to be fair, I've knocked it on several occasions publicly. It wasn't a bad stadium. It's not exactly the best. But I wouldn't say it's bad. It was also housing a lot of first responders and also a lot of the utility workers down there as well, as they were trying to get some shelter in place from the conditions that were going on outside. So it was another long night of watching hurricane coverage on television, which whenever there's a natural disaster, we're going to watch. And it seems that it's just our nature. It is a society. It's like, oh, bad shit happened. I got to see if this is on YouTube. Is someone live streaming this? And actually there were people live streaming and they had just 4 still cameras. I was doing the same thing at the beginning of the war in Ukraine after the Russian invasion, where I was just glued to my television set for 3 months watching CCTV cameras from across the country. And that's kind of what we were doing again last night. And also going back and forth between the baseball playoffs as well. Congratulations to the New York Mets. They are moving on to the National League Championship Series after defeating the Philadelphia Phillies in a 3-1 division series victory.
Because I'm not booked.
The Phillies are not booked this year. That's right. They are not going to the World Series again after them and the Dodgers in the National League have spent literally, I feel like, $500 billion at this point to win a championship. And neither half Well, the Dodgers did in 2020.
It might be 0.
Exactly. It might be 0. The Mets, however, after they were considered sellers and they were considered not in the elite category of teams, they might finish second or third. They did not. They did not. They went through the wild card round almost with ease. Almost. They were the only team that did not sweep. So, of course, it went to game 3, but in the end, Peter Alonso got him there. Late game home run in game 3. And then, of course, game 4, Francisco Lindor hit the grand slam. And that is one of the most iconic home runs in postseason history for the Mets. Adds to that large legacy. So now we have to wait to see who wins between Detroit and the Guardians, the New York Yankees, the Kansas City Royals, and the Dodgers and Padres to see who will be going to the NLCS and the ALCS, respectively. Ooh, I have not done proper introductions this evening so far after I went on to my little Hope Florida's doing okay and giving you a baseball update. I am your host, Dale Burke. You are listening to PWW Talks, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, my hetero life mate, and my bestie for over 20 years, Mac. Welcome back again to the program. How are you?
I love how we started this very, very awkwardly. I was going to be like, what's up and everything, but I guess I know what's up in your world, and that's baseball right now.
I know, right? I wouldn't say it's the funny part is it's just like it's that time of year. It's weird where it's just, but usually this time of year for so many years here in this area of the country for us, we were so focused on the New England Patriots because of our reign of dominance for about 20 years.
Yep.
Not so much now. Where we currently
reign
sit.
Of shit. Reign of shit.
God. I mean, and I'll say this because I know everybody on Sports Talk Radio, and I know a lot of the Boston people, a lot of the New England fans that literally do not have the patience for anything. I hope to God.
Who ran?
Hope to God that Drake May does not get killed in this season because all of you are like, we need to make a switch now. I've told everybody the last 3 or 4 years, I've said it is going to be a process. Like no one sustains this success for this long and doesn't have an after effect of dormancy and rebuild. And the problem is that you're in this region of the country that is so focused on sports that they're always wanting the absolute best of it. Yeah. And the Bruins were able to re-sign Jeremy Swayman, so hooray. Deal got done there. The Celtics, of course, will be starting soon to defend their NBA championship. So there are other things in this region to keep us going, including professional wrestling, which is an all-year thing and not just seasonal.
Uh-huh. I see what you did there.
A bit of a transition. I'm able to do that. The transition king, they used to call me back in the day.
Yeet!
So, Bad Blood has a case to be one of the best PLEs, pay-per-views of 2024. Without question. Top to bottom, one of the best WWE PLEs that they've done this year. The problem is they have done it time and time again this year, except maybe for Money in the Bank. Well, no, not maybe. Money in the Bank was the worst PLE of the year. But everything else this year has been solid, including Bad Blood, which we talked about it last week. How is CM Punk and Drew McIntyre going to be able to top their last 2 matches? Are they going to be able to live up to the lofty expectations of Hell in a Cells in the past? And the answer to that question is hell yeah, they did. A instant classic by any means across the board. Meltzer hasn't given it a star ratings yet. I expect it to be somehow in the 4s. He won't give it a 5. He will not give it a 5. I guarantee it, because of the fact that certain people will be mad, and also the fact that he needs to stay within his base, the dwindling base that he has, mind you. But still,
It might, I don't know. It might be 0.
you might give it 0 stars, Dave. You might. I don't know. He was criticizing it a little bit. He was kind of trying to, I guess you could say, taking the piss out of it a bit. At certain points on the Observer Radio this week, talking to Alvarez, which I fully expected because of the contentious relationship that Dave Meltzer has had with CM Punk. He does not want to be able to give him a high rating at this. It's also because of the fact that CM Punk left AEW under harsh circumstances, and the fact that CM Punk left AEW and pretty much has taken that audience that he generated and kept them with and taken them to the other side. More on that later.
Smoke.
The fact is that every expectation, every check that needed to be made for this match was made. Both men bled.
I disagree. You want to know why?
What?
Because they exceeded it.
They did. They didn't have to go to the top. They didn't have to do any insane dives. It was fucking brutal. That's what it needed to be. It needed to be a match that ended a feud. A match that ended a blood feud. And the only way you could possibly do that is to do it in a structure that is built for it. And the Hell in the Cell was built for it. And the fact is that what these two did not only finished their feud under the unbelievable expectations that it had beheld it. Those first 2 matches were fantastic, and this one exceeded both. It is very rare that a third match is better than the first 2. I can think of Flair and Steamboat from 1989, when Flair beat Steamboat at Music City Showdown. That match, the third one, was better than the other 2. It did win Match of the Year. I always kind of liked the first one, but the third one I always felt like was the better of the 3.
Yeah.
You can go back to 2005. Batista and Triple H, their trilogy. WrestleMania match was good, not great. Backlash match was better. Their Vengeance Hell in the Cell match was fantastic. Sometimes the third matches are able to exceed the previous 2 great matches. And this one, without question, was able to do that. I also have to give credit to Kenny Omega and Okada back from 2017, 2018 as well. I forgot to do that because I remember their first match. Then they had to draw the second match, and then the third match finally when Kenny beat Okada to win the New Japan Wrestling Heavyweight, the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. So it has happened. Historically, it has happened. And the fact is that there were so many moments in this match that it felt like I was watching something from the 80s, from the NWA. I was saying, I even put it in the group chat, I said, someone was watching Magnum TA and Tully in the cage from Starrcade of 85.
Yep.
Like someone was doing that. Probably Punk. Probably Drew too, even. Because they probably both sat and said, we need to do it. We need to do it this way. I even thought at one point, because Punk had him in the Anaconda Vice, I said, the way that I would have this finish is I would go with how Magnum and Tully ended. Punk gets the Anaconda Vice on Drew McIntyre and gets a screwdriver and either goes for the forehead or tries to go for the eye, and Drew taps out. That would have been one that I probably would have went with as a finish. I would have, again, taken from the finish from Tully and Magnum from 85. But the problem is that that probably wouldn't do well with Mattel, a few other organizations, because, there are major companies that are squeamish about blood, even though when you are also aligned with a company called Ultimate Fighting Championships, and that's real.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to kind of tell me that, well, we really don't want to have blood. It's like, but your parent company sells that.
Yep.
Like, everybody knows it's a real thing. So why don't you just have blood once in a while? And they didn't overdo it. It was not overdone by any means. Like, if there was a way to do this match kind of PG-13 rated, but it kind of like a PG-13 rated from the 80s, because there's a difference, folks. PG-13 in the 80s was
Rated
a
R
little
now.
rated R now. Yeah, pretty much. Like, you'd be surprised. So, there's some movies from like when we were kids, you watch it now, it's just like, how is this not rated R? How as a kid I could watch this? Like movies like Just One of the Guys, things like that. I mean, as a teenager, of course, every boy and every teenager kid was like, well, I like this movie because of this reason. And
I think we all had those movies.
Yes,
back then,
we all had those movies. But, that was a PG-13 movie back in the 80s. This was kind of like that way with the Hell in the Cell match. Okay, we're not going to go the route of Mankind and The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, but we're going to go this route. It's not going to be a bloodbath, but damn, people are going to notice. And it was everything I could have wanted from that match and then some. And I still am trying to figure out how Drew McIntyre didn't completely blow his lower back out with that Claymore spot.
Or how he didn't get a concussion from that toolbox.
Clang! I'm like, oh!
Yeah, he had like 16 stitches from that? Jeez.
Yeah,
man.
that was it. He didn't get stitches. I think there were staples, which...
Sorry.
I'd rather get stitches, to be quite honest, and someone be like, I'm going to staple this, like, ah! Like, for some reason, I'd rather have the needle in my head with the thread than fucking somebody just take it like some asshole that's just stapling your head shut. I mean, I guess it works, though, right? Like, shit.
I mean,
I'll just staple it together, like it's a TPS report.
I actually watched that the other day.
It's funny because I had
somebody has the case of the Mondays.
Maybe you could get your ass kicked for saying something like that, man. Like, it's still one of the most quotable movies.
Oh, it's a classic. Hands down, that movie is a classic.
Someone had a GIF yesterday that was hilarious. That it was because it was Hurricane Milton. So someone took Milton's face for that movie. It says Milton is coming from his red stapler. Just fucking hysterical.
I wish I saw that now. That's hilarious.
The funny thing about it is too, it's like this could be a massive disaster. This could literally change literally change a lot of things in the state of Florida. And of course, we're just making memes about it because what are we going to do? Right? Thoughts and prayers? No, we're just going to make memes. Fuck it.
Well, speaking of this match and speaking of memes and gifs and shit, I saw a meme the other day about finally CM Punk has won a cage match since UFC.
Ooh, ooh. That was good.
Or
I didn't see
I think
that.
it was owned by UFC because
Oh,
now
that's
it's
funny.
TKO. But yeah,
Yeah, it's that's hilarious. Like, oh, he finally won a cage. It's true though. I mean, he didn't. I don't think he had a cage match in AEW at all. So, but
pretty sure he
damn.
didn't. Yeah, but I will say this for this match as well. Whoever thought of the beads instead of the tacks is a goddamn genius. I don't know if it was Drew. I don't know if it was Punk. I don't know if it was both of them. I don't know if it was Triple H. I don't really care who. Whoever thought of that is a fucking genius. Because he comes up with that stack, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, tacks, we've done this before. And it's the fucking beads. And I burst out laughing as I'm watching this. Like, that's fucking awesome. Did you mute?
Yeah, I did mute. Sorry.
I was like,
I was no, I was just actually, it was a business text that I was reading for a quick second. Yeah. Stay tuned, folks.
Exactly.
That's a plug for you. Yeah, I'm glad they, because of course when they brought the bag out, the only thing I was thinking of was, oh god, they're doing thumbtacks.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that was the only thing I could think of. I'm like, all right. But yeah, when they did bring out the beads, I was just like, yep.
I popped for that.
Fucking genius. I did too. Because it just, all the symbolism for it, it just wrapped everything up into a nice, brilliance of just wrapping everything nice in a nice little bow for the finish and just saying, here we go. Yeah, but you know what? The right guy won too, because
absolutely.
Punk had to come out of that with the win. I don't think it really hurts Drew because it makes Drew look like a fucking badass anyways, because
100%.
he just went out on a shield. Like it wasn't, and then CM Punk comes out on Monday of just like, oh, I'm going to go for a while. I'm going to go away for a while, like Frosty the Snowman, but I'll be right back real soon. Of course, because he doesn't want to go cash a Saudi check, which I understand your moral code and I respect it. I respect that moral code, but I don't know if I could turn down that type of money.
I'm just gonna say this. I don't have a Jerry Maguire soundbite prepped for that. So
yeah,
just show me the money.
Like, I understand and I respect his moral code and his principles. I get all that and I appreciate it and I love him for it. But as a man that understands the waves and hills of life sometimes, and as you get older, you can sit there and be like, yeah, I just morally I couldn't do it. Then they show you the money they're going to pay you, and it's just like, so all I got to do is get in a plane and do what I normally do every night anyways, but they're going to pay me that much for one night. I mean, it got Shawn Michaels to come out of retirement. Come on.
You stopped at morals for me because morals for me are
Smoke.
Oh, not that, but more so.
Because I'm not booked.
Not booked. But morals are smoke too, so.
I mean, I get it. I get Punk not wanting to go to Saudi. I get it. I understand that. I respect it. But, God, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
A lot of money. We'll talk about more about that Crown Jewel event, too. That got people. I was rather surprised people were mad about this. People were mad about it as they were. I'm going to be quite honest.
It doesn't do anything.
It doesn't, but at the same time, it's a nice belt. Really nice belt.
I mean,
it reminds me of the North American Championship from Mid-South.
Yeah.
which I'm always someone that, again, is someone that is a student of history with this industry. When you do things like that, I appreciate that of the callback. So I don't hate it. I don't hate the design of it. I don't hate the concept of it. I think that, the problem I have is that it does nothing. You're right. It does nothing.
Yeah.
Because all it is it's like, because then you have questions and I'm answering, like, I have questions. So is it like the Stanley Cup? Do they carry it around for a year, then they have to hand it over? But at the same time, like, when they lose the championship, or if they lose the championship, do they have to hand that belt over to?
Yeah, that's
actually
about what I was going to say.
A lot of questions to go with it, because
it's way too many.
If you lose your championship, are you not the crown jewel, or whatever the hell? What are they calling this title?
I think it's the crown jewel champion. Yeah,
the crown jewel champion, right? So if you lose your world championship, but you're the crown jewel champion, do you lose the crown jewel championship? Someone answer that for me.
We'll find out in 3 weeks, Dan.
Yeah, I know. But that's a question I have. I'm just sitting there and I'm like, really? Like,
yeah, because for me, otherwise, like I said, it does nothing. It's a shiny new thing, and that's it. So I don't hate it, but there are those questions that you mentioned that I also have. And then, let's say Gunther or Cody win, because it's obviously going to be one of those two. If Cody loses his undisputed championship, does he lose that too? Does it default to Gunther? Is it just vacated until next year? Like, what happens?
Right.
And again, so, look at the speed title on Twitter X, whatever. You don't see Candice LeRae on television or Andrade on television showing that belt around. So does that also mean nothing? Like, there's more questions than answers. I think it's a cool concept. Don't get me wrong. But to have it tied to a once-a-year event is a little bit odd for me.
The thing that also bothered me, too, is because I feel like this is too little too late. Because of, if we go back to the mid-2010s, like 2016, 2017, 2018.
I'd rather not.
Survivor, well, yeah, we wouldn't, and I get that. But if we go back to the Survivor Series when it was brand versus brand, that would make sense of doing it then, because the champion is facing the champion. And, so Brock Lesnar technically would have won the crown, that title 2 years in a row, because 2017 he beat, 2017 he beat AJ Styles, and he did it against a year later with Daniel Bryan. And I think the next year he fought Mysterio, and he wasn't involved in the champion versus champion aspect of it. But because I remember that pay-per-view, there was concern because Bray Wyatt was the champion, and so was Adam Cole. So they were doing NXT versus Raw versus SmackDown. So there was a thought that they were going to do Brock versus Bray Wyatt versus Adam Cole. Brock did not want anything to do with The Fiend. And I thought the Adam Cole aspect, I thought Adam Cole and him would have had a really good match. But they didn't want to do it that year. I remember it was Pete Dunne and, I think it was Pete Dunne against Adam Cole for the NXT championship on the show. And then it was Brock versus Mysterio. I don't even know if The Fiend was booked. I forget.
Because I'm not booked.
Because again, this is 5 years ago and a time in the company that I really want to kind of forget about as well.
So hold on. So we can just look back in the last 4 years. So Roman wins. He becomes the undisputed champion. They drop the other title on Raw. They have no champion for a year. So I think what this does is it fixes that problem. Now you do have a true undisputed, as it were, champion. However, if they ever decide to go that route again, what happens to this? Does that get dropped?
That's... because they've done this so many times.
They have, and that's the problem.
Where it's like because I can remember 3 times in the last 20 years that they decided we're gonna have one world champion, and they do it for a while, and then they shit the bed with it. Just doesn't work. And then it just.
I don't want to say it doesn't work, but like this past time with Roman, it doesn't work because he's not there.
That was why they needed to create it. And that made sense, but also cheapened shit. Because, Roman was the final boss, so to speak.
The Rock is somewhere.
Yeah. Well, he can, shut up. But so to speak, he was the guy that everybody was chasing. He was the guy that everybody was chasing. And then now it's like, oh, we have this now. So it's like, oh. And so now it's Gunther and it's Cody. And there's no stakes to it. Except that. And it's like, but it doesn't mean anything. Like, the only thing it means is like... I
hate that, though, because Gunther is still very early into his career, enough to the point that it could be telling later. And for Cody, it's another notch on the belt of what's going to be probably, like a 7-year run with WWE, depending on how healthy he stays. Just being realistic of his age at this point. We'll have to see. The one for me, though, that, first of all, they haven't shown it yet. Second of all, it's barely being discussed, but Nia Jax versus freaking Liv Morgan.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's going to work.
That's going to be tough to kind of sell. Yeah. I think it's just...
I agree.
Gunther and Cody, people want that. People want to see that.
Yeah.
Nia, Liv, unless they do a cash in.
Right. So that's my next point, actually. So if Tiffy does a cash in, does she also become the women's crown jewel champion? Like, how's that work?
Or she does the cash in before she gets to crown jewel.
God, no.
And she doesn't cash in on Nia, she cashes in on Liv.
You know what, as soon as you said it, and as soon as I said, please God, no, I actually thought the same thing. I was like, oh, if she cashes in on Liv, I might be okay with that.
Because it's the thing with Liv, it's like, how much meat is going to be left on the bone now that the thing with Rhea is over? Because I guess we could just lead in another good transition. Because we can lead into that. We'll get into the Gunther Goldberg stuff too. Because do we want to talk about that before, or do we want to talk that after?
I mean, we're talking about Crown Jewel. We might as well.
Yeah. So I guess Goldberg is back in the fold, which they were in Atlanta and they showed him, and he was with his kids, and I was just like, I for a second there, I'm like, because again, in recent times, in the last year and a half, he has stated that his contract ran out and they weren't going to do anything with him. He was not in WWE 2K24. And it looked like that WWE was finally out of the Goldberg business. And then Sunday night and then Saturday night, lo and behold, there he is, front row and center. And Gunther, of course, made the reference, which got a huge pop for me and probably everybody else that I was talking to that night. Gunther said, what I said to Bret Hart wasn't true, because why would one of the greatest wrestlers in the world idolize a one-trick pony like you?
Yep.
And that just...
Just a little bit of a side note here. I think I stood up and clapped for Gunther at that point. I straight up started clapping.
It was a Citizen Kane clap. All of us are just sitting, because
It was that gif of Bill Murray pumping his fist, standing up, and just clapping like crazy. That was me. There was no Citizen Kane to that. Citizen Kane is a very methodical, kind of sarcastic clapping. That was not me. This was, I am amped that you finally said something like this.
And then now, here's the problem. Because it was a great moment, and I loved it, but now we get to see Goldberg again. And that's the part that bothers the shit out of me.
So hold on. I would have believed that, but the context of Gunther winning against Sami Zayn on the following Monday, I don't think that's going to happen now. If Sami had won, it would be Sami versus Cody for the Crown Jewel Championship at Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia in 3 weeks. However, that's not the case because Gunther won, so it's going to be Gunther and Cody. So unless there's going to be some kind of Goldberg run-in, which I really don't think they're going to pay him just for that, to go to Saudi Arabia and all that.
Oh, they might.
Who knows?
They might.
That's the next comment.
They did that
Saudi
to Taker
Arabia
one year.
Them. Yeah, I know.
They did that for Taker one year. We pretty much just did a run-in. And that's...
I think he got like $2 million for it, too.
Yeah, he's earned it. I always say that.
No,
it's
I'm
like,
not saying it
whatever.
insultingly. I agree. He has earned it.
It's like when Sean came out of retirement. People get mad. They're like, he tarnished his legacy. I'm like, no, he didn't. I'm like, I don't count it because it was a payday. I get it.
He didn't turn his shit because look at him now. He's probably the best booker of the year. So,
yes.
Whatever.
And we'll talk more about NXT later. Oh, you AEW fans later are going to love us because we're just going to be dogging. We're going to be dogging you all night. But now the thing about this is that, of course, that created a heavy rumor on Monday that because of this, that Gunther was going to lose to Sami Zayn and Sami was going to go on a Crown Jewel, and they were going to do Goldberg-Gunther at Crown Jewel, which I would have been okay with it because it would have been able to give Sami a run with the championship, and it would have also been able to give Gunther a reason to kill Goldberg and be able also to give Goldberg his retirement match, so to speak. Because I think that is the thing that they're trying to... they've been mending a lot of fences in recent weeks. Victoria, who was not been around the company in over 15 years, signed a Legends deal recently. They were able to get Ken Shamrock recently. And it was announced just today. I was able to get somebody, it was in one of my group chats for Pro Wrestling World. Jesse Ventura is now under contract with WWE for a Legends deal, meaning that we were going to get the all-important Jesse Ventura figures. The all-important. I'm sure. That's all he cares about is his damn figures. Sometimes, yes. So, but they have been mending a lot of fences. And Goldberg, I guess, is a part of that plan. I guess. I know. It's the only solace I'm getting from all of this is the fact that Gunther is going to get a good payday. Whether because I probably see this happening at not Survivor Series. It's going to be one of these big shows. Because they want to have Gunther kind of have a moment and hopefully also have somebody kind of be able to rub shoulders with to kind of give him things on his resume to kind of check off the board because...
Wait, hold on. First of all, don't you think he's getting that from Cody? Before you answer, here's the follow-up question to that. Wouldn't have this been better like 5+ years ago? Because
course it
He
would
did
have.
not look good the last time it was in
Of course
Saudi
it would
Arabia
have.
against
Of
Roman.
course it would have. It would have been great. It would have been better 5 years ago. But the problem is that 5 years ago, Gunther wouldn't be in the position
I know,
he's in.
He's in NXT at that point. I get it.
Well, no, it's just too. It wasn't just NXT. It's just the fact of that Gunther would not be in the position that he's in right now under a Vince McMahon booker. Let's just say that.
I don't know.
Because
Isn't Vince the one that put the IC belt on him in the first place, though?
no,
I could have sworn it was.
no,
Okay.
no. That the only thing that Vince contributed to Gunther was the name change from Walter to Gunther.
Which I don't really care about either way, but
Not anymore, but when originally happened, we were all bullshit.
People were pissed, yeah.
Yeah, you know, it was his. He even admitted he probably wouldn't be in the position that he's in if it wasn't for Triple H, because there was a lot of faith, a lot of people that, including myself, that thought that Gunther is not under Vince McMahon is going to get hurt. He's not going to be able to understand the character. He's going to have him do dumb shit. Like Vince with foreign talents, for some reason, always has to do the stereotypical bullshit. So Gunther would be part of some League of Nations somewhere with other members, like with Pete Dunne. Like he'd be with UN. He'd be a part of the Brawling Brutes or something like that with Butch. Like it's just something dumb. And
I don't know.
Gunther would not be in the position that he's in under Vince McMahon. I don't think it ever would.
It's tough to say that, I feel like, because it's with the Japanese talent. I 100% see that. 100%. You know, Shinsuke is a very good example of that. Does not know what to do with them. But I feel like Gunther and his English language and his really have a heavy accent. You know, he's very intelligible with what he says. And I'm not saying that to knock him by any stretch of the imagination, but if you compare the accent of Shinsuke, who, you know, still has broken English at times and talks very methodically and has a very heavy accent in comparison, that's that difference. And it's funny because I think of Tozawa as well. Tozawa actually speaks really good English. And
he does.
It's, you know, not nearly as accented as Shinsuke, but you hear, like, I saw him the other day doing an interview with Chris Van Vliet, and I was like, holy shit. Like, you didn't even know the dude spoke English half the time because they never have him speak. And again, like, you look at some of the other talent that Vince has had come in and Triple H has had come in and see the different booking styles. I don't know that Gunther would have been held back by any of that. But hindsight is 2020. I have no idea. There's very good possibility that you might be right and he'd be in some kind of League of Nations. God, like, who the hell knows, man? I
think of Vladimir Kozlov.
But that was like in
right?
the 80s and 90s, though.
No, that was like 2008.
Oh, I was thinking Nikita.
Yeah, no, Vladimir Kozlov started off as a killer. He pinned The Undertaker clean once on SmackDown. Like, that's how much they had stock in this guy. He challenged Triple H at Survivor Series 2008. It was one of the worst matches for a major show ever at that point. And so after that, Vince changed direction, and then he was doing like stuff with Santino, doing like dancing. It's like, so he turned out to be this killer heel, and because he didn't get over what Vince wanted him to, because again, Vince was stuck into that still fucking same playbook they did for years with foreign guys of, foreign heel, bad. Can't make him a badass because we're going to make America look strong. And so that was the same playbook for years. I feel like Gunther would have been in the same type of typical foreign heel under Vince McMahon, which would have been we'll make him look strong, and then we'll make him look like complete ass after about 2 years.
Yeah.
And under Triple H, I don't think that's going to happen. And I haven't seen that one time. If there's been one guy that has been booked perfectly in the last 2 years, other than Cody Rhodes, it's been Gunther.
I agree. That's probably why they're both world champions right now.
Exactly. But Gunther especially, because you think about what he did to the IC belt, because man, that thing's got some fucking weight to it now. Like it is again the mid-card championship in professional wrestling. Don't come to me with the TNT title and the international continental championship that they have, because if you do, I'm gonna laugh in your face. The IC title, the prestige is back to it. You can even make the same argument for the US championship as well, because yes, a lot of you probably don't like Logan Paul. I get it. The guy's a fucking idiot. I don't like him either. But at the same time, with his social media presence and what he has been able to do, he raised the stakes of that championship to relevancy that it hasn't had in about 15 years.
Yeah.
So
the only argument I would make against the US title is it needs to be featured more. That's the only thing I would say. But I don't disagree with what you said at all. You know, going from Logan Paul to LA Knight, even, I think LA Knight needs to be featured more, especially with the belt now as well. Not that he hasn't been, it just needs to be featured more.
It's so hard because they got so much stuff going on right now.
You have your definitive champion, and I would argue your top 1 and 2 guys on the same show as your US title. It's incredibly hard. I 100% agree with you.
It's so hard. And too, you have a crop, like a very intriguing women's champion right now in Nia Jax.
Yeah.
So you also have to get, and it's amazing. I tell everybody, I'm like, because I love it when people are still knock her for, it's like, oh, she looks reckless and that type of stuff. Meanwhile, I look at the injury reports and it's like no one ever misses time.
Hurricane Rana to Bailey.
I know.
Like, holy shit.
I know.
And busting out submissions?
The more I watch Nia, you just sit there and you're just like, yeah.
She's improved so much since then.
She has. She really has. Like it, and especially her character work too. Jesus, she knows how to get people to hate her. Woof. And like that clip came back to me this week of it was Jade Cargill when she was with her kid, and she just goes up to, "Your mom sucks."
Yep.
I'm like, I love it. Love this. And you need that. And I think that she is.
Bailey.
I mean, there she was just telling the fucking truth. Right?
I was going to say the same thing if you didn't actually.
God damn it. Truth. Well, the thing about it is that because now I'm getting a lot of these videos of just guys being creeps. They're doing like slow motion shots of, and I'm just like, oh, really, guys? Really? Why am I getting this on fucking Facebook and Instagram? Like these slow shots of them, and I'm just like, oh, man.
See, you know what I see too is a lot of the AI shots. Not even just of her or those two, but just in general. And it's like, dude, that is not that body. Just saying.
Oh, the Ronda Rousey ones are hysterical.
I'm like, just so many of them. It's not even her. It's just like, I've seen a couple of Alexa Bliss, of Liv Morgan, of even Rhea to a certain degree. I've seen Bailey, obviously. I've seen, I'm trying to think who else. I think Zelina Vega, even though Zelina Vega is pretty plastic already anyways, but
not there's anything wrong with that.
No, nothing. Tiffany, same thing. I've seen a lot of Tiffany too, where it's just like, same thing as I can't even remember the names at this point, but at this point, yeah, it's like they're all like AI generated garbage at this point.
It's just these guys. These guys are such creeps. It just they make these reels, and it's just like, and these little videos, and it's just like slow motion of jiggling butts. And it's like, come on, guys. Come on. Get some more.
One I've actually seen recently is I think it was actually from this match, ironically enough, between Bailey and Nia, and they're falling to the outside, and Nia's hand gets kind of like caught up in the wardrobe and almost pulls her top off. And same thing. I'm seeing like the slow motion of that too, and I'm just like, come on, really?
Come on, guys. Just like, we got to be gentlemen about stuff. Like, we need to have kind of shit, because we're already getting, we have such a bad rep online as a gender. Jesus Christ. We're always doing some fucking stupid that's causing us to even look bad even more.
Well, you know who really has a bad rap is Dominic Mysterio.
Oh, yes. Dominic has a really bad rap.
I really did like the pinata Dominic Mysterio, though.
The women matches, I guess we'll talk about both of them now.
But as well, Fury.
Yeah, we'll just mash it together because we've already kind of because like the first Nia and Bailey was to be expected. But we also didn't know a winner. Good tease by Tiffany to kind of be a distraction for Nia to kind of retain the championship.
Yep, I agree.
Good spots. I thought it was a really good match. The Rhea Liv match, more of the same.
It was about what I expected it to be,
but it was still good.
Yeah.
I thought the finish sucked.
I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it either. Obviously,
I would have preferred this than Rhea losing again by like some bullshit. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't go back. You can't have two finishes in a row like that.
I agree.
But bringing Raquel in to kind of be a heater for Liv makes sense.
Well, this is what we talked about last time. I heard the rumor last time. We talked
Raquel,
a little bit about it.
And this is, if you hear this or if somebody knows you that reads this, do me a favor. Check the wardrobe and figure out what works for you flattering wise, okay?
Oh my God.
I
love how we're talking about us as a gender, and then you're like, that wasn't flattering on you.
It wasn't!
It wasn't, I know. But
it wasn't! Come on! Like, and it was like, I'm not that blind. I gotta go in and no one else is, because that was like, I felt like one of the discerning topics of the whole goddamn show. It was like, oh, that Hell in a Cell match was great. What the fuck was Raquel wearing? Like, that seems to be, I think, the trending topics from that show. It was Hell in a Cell match was great. Great to see Rock come back. And then, of course, the what the hell was Raquel wearing?
I mean, listen, what I was going to say before is no less true now, though. We talked about it a little bit last week where I heard the rumor that she might be making a return. And this is a good segue now for Rhea. It gets her out of the title picture. And Liv is not going to be defending her title at Crown Jewel, which is going to be for the Crown Jewel Championship against Nia Jax. This does kind of free up the whole Bailey and Naomi situation, because I feel like there is going to be something there at some point. So I didn't really hate any of it. I do think that... I think I read from Meltzer that he felt the run-ins were too much for this show, but I didn't disagree per se, but I thought they were done correctly, is what I'll say. And the other thing I want to talk about before we go on to the other matches is I really felt that this PLE, I know you said it's like one of the top ones of the year, but they kind of built it up that way too. They showed all the legends that were there. They had the party up in the booth that they showed, and some of the other legends up in there and stuff like that. It really felt like a top 4 show without it being one. And I think this is going to go down as one of the better PLEs, like you said earlier, for this year. But how did you feel about the Damian Priest and Finn Balor match? Speaking of run-ins.
So Finn Balor and Damian Priest. Boy, we want to talk about run-ins. Christ.
Well, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
I felt like that he was in Bullet Club again because I think every Bullet Club member, the Harlem Globetrotters, the Three Stooges, the 1927 Yankees, like every possible conceivable character or athlete from the last century ran in on that match. Jesus. I felt like the right guy won, but also at the same time, with all the animosity, we talked about it last week. We just said, why isn't this in Hell in a Cell? Like, why isn't this have kind of more stakes to it?
I was waiting for this thing to come back down.
Yeah, like it's just, you would think with all the interference and just the fact that you have someone that used to be the leader, or like there wasn't a leader of Judgment Day. Oh, okay, whatever. Shut the fuck up. Like, I love that. There wasn't a leader of Judgment Day. It was yeah, because he wasn't being Bob Saget from fucking Full House the last 3 months of goddamn being in Judgment Day, where all he had to deal with was Dom's bullshit, and then had to deal with your complexes and what the fuck was going on. But then all you were trying to do it too was just trying to be like, almost like where he was. All that Finn Balor in this whole thing was Francis Underwood and House of Cards. He was just pulling the strings back just to screw the guy over. Oh, I had this planned for a year. Did you? Well, you haven't done anything in the last year, so that makes sense. Because you just probably just planning this whole thing and fucking thing out. I love Damian Priest. I've been high on him for since he came into the company. Even when he was in Ring of Honor, I was just like, yeah, there's something there with this guy. I just don't know. Like, they got to be able to get something out of it, because it was just, he was kind of bland. Like, he was just another, like, he was Baron Corbin level as Punishment Martinez. He was just like Baron Corbin, like when he was like the lone wolf. And they somehow were just able to get this guy to come out of his shell. You find out what an awesome dude he is. Hell of a talent. The guy can go. Kind of checks all those boxes. I'm glad that he's been able to been put in this main event position. Even when Edge was in Judgment Day, he was the guy that he wanted working with him because he had so much potential. And, you know, for Damian Priest to beat Finn Balor, I was just like, okay, I'm all for this. Not that I hate Balor, because I don't anymore. At one point, I used to call him Peg Warmer Finn, because every time I would go to the store for an action figure, it was always Finn Balor left. Like elites, like everybody could be sold out, right? Everybody, especially there was a couple of years there where wrestling figures, every elite was sold out except Finn Balor. He was always there. I was like, Peg Warmer Finn, here we go again. Where now the WWE figures, they really don't have to worry about peg warming, because AEW does the peg warming for them. More on them later.
Oh my God.
I feel like I have to keep front selling.
I know you do.
What's going to come later on, because I can't wait. I cannot wait to discuss that. But other than the interference, I thought it was a decent match. I think both guys have really good chemistry. That sequence at the end with Finn, where it was just like he just hit him with like every coup de grace possible.
Yeah.
And he's trying to beat him, and then all of a sudden he just gets caught with that choke slam. I was just like, yeah! Like, really good finish, really hot finish. And again, it just shows you how good Damian Priest is. I feel like that he's able at this point to work with pretty much anybody on that roster and really be able to have a good match out of him. And Finn has always been, if anything, in ring, he has been nothing but consistent his whole career. So this was another notch in his belt, but Damian Priest, again, really kind of showing people that this guy cannot be slept on as a talent. Like, you can't do it now. He is that good. I think he is proven to everybody of what a great talent he is. So all for it.
Yeah, I really have nothing to add. I think that the match was pretty much built the way it should have been built. I think that the run-ins were a little bit much. It didn't really matter in the long run, I guess. I'm kind of like, why even have them? You knew it was going to happen, though, anyways, so kind of is what it is. But overall, yeah, I think Damian Priest should have been the winner. I'm going to have to see how he progresses after this into what storylines they have for him. But, I don't think it really helped or hurt either one of them, honestly. Finn is still a tag team champion. Damien's probably, could be off for a week or two and then come back into some kind of program with somebody else. It's just going through the motions. It wasn't a bad match, though, by any stretch of the imagination.
I do miss the banter between Carlito and Damian Priest, though, when Damian Priest... I do miss. I feel like they kind of missed the boat where kind of Carlito became kind of... is almost like enforcer.
Yeah.
Not enforcer, but more or less a mole inside the Judgment Day, where he was able to help Damian Priest win and then kind of be kind of like a sidekick, but not really. Because, is Damian Priest a heel? Or is he a babyface for that matter? Because I really don't know. Because he's kind of like a gray area guy, because he's trying to be kind of supernatural, right? I don't know what the fuck he is.
I don't even know anymore.
I think, what was it? So he's like a bisexual Undertaker at like some club or something. Like that was
Bondage Undertaker.
Yeah, Bondage Undertaker. Excuse me, but that's which is hysterical. Like that someone could make that assumption. But also it's just a tremendous comparison because it's so fucking random. It's like I guess, but the clothing that he was wearing at some. Because he used to have like the heavy coats, the long coats. So you're like, oh yeah, that is kind of Takerish. And then with the music and the entrance, it's like, oh yeah, that is kind of true. But I don't know. I always thought he kind of looked like, with the hairstyle. You remember some of those HBO martial art movies where they all had the long ponytail? They're the last boss. It was every single one of them. They always seem to have like the long ponytail at the end, like the last guy that they had to beat. And he always came off to me as somebody that would be in a movie, like where it's an underground nightclub, but he was the last guy that the guy had to beat. So he'd be sitting on the throne the whole time, just not impressed with any of them. And then of course he kills the guy's friend. So then the whole concept of at the end of it is you have to somehow, the guy's like, I have to get revenge for my friend. So that's the last. So he ends up beating the guy at the end, killing him, or he ends up going to jail.
Ooh, man.
Exactly. It was probably definitely a Vince Russo movie idea, though. Like he probably wrote it.
Oh God.
Had to make Russo reference.
Yep.
So we go from the two women's matches. We go from Hell in a Cell and Finn and Damian to the big money main event.
Well, hold on. Before we got there, we had about 30 minutes of intro music and introductions and stuff because Cody's entrance and
The
Roman's
pomp and
entrance,
circumstances.
yeah,
Jesus.
I think both of those were like 10 minutes entrances apiece.
You could definitely tell that was a high school band too that was doing
Cody,
that. Yeah. I mean, nice guy for getting them some TV time because they played his music, but definitely you could tell it's a high school band. But I think it's still kind of a cool moment. It really was kind of felt like the high school quarterback entrance. You're like, oh God, it's fucking pep rally. He just needs the goddamn girls to come out with the confetti and the band. He all you needed was him running through the banner Like that's all you needed. Like it's just they had the paper banner with his logo on it, and he just runs through it. You're like, great. This is what I want for my champion. But who am I kidding? Of course, even though I wasn't a fan of the coat kind of mask combination this time, I was like, what are you doing here? Like, because it just the chest kind of being exposed, like the shoulders, it was just like, yeah. I mean, of course, there'll be a figure for it. I'll probably buy it, but that's it. There'll probably be an Elite 2-pack. No, it'll either be an Elite 2-pack or an Ultimate 2-pack from this match, and it will be Cody and Roman together, and it'll be their outfits. So you'll be able to get Cody with the garb, with the coat and the mask, and then Roman, you'll get the OTC shirt, probably soft goods, and then you'll get the championship belt to go with Cody, and that'll be the Elite 2-pack, and it'll sell fucking millions. And Mattel, you better be listening to this. Actually, you know what? This will probably be in our highlight package. I might make a little clip of this and then send this off to Ringside Collectibles so we can get ourselves a little ringside code.
Yeah, but
come on, baby. Come on, Ringside. I'm one of your perfect pitch men, Ringside. Like literally, it is perfect. I mean, if you walk into my humble abode here, you could just tell it's like this guy shops at Ringside Collectibles. And folks, as we speak this evening, by next episode, I will be in possession of the new Outsiders Ultimate 2-pack. So next week on this program, I will be showing you the Ultimate Outsiders 2-pack, the exclusive that you can now and only get on Ringside Collectibles and their new revamped website. Been a big week for figures here. I was able to get the new Vader Ultimate from Target. That's a sick figure. I'll have to bring that down for next week's episode too. The new Hulk Hogan figure, which is actually him from WrestleMania 8. So I think now I am vastly approaching, 30 Hulk Hogans. Or I might be over. I don't know yet. I don't know the numbers, but I think because I was over 25 at one point, but I haven't done inventory in a few months, maybe over a year. Don't know yet. It's
been a while.
It's been a while since I started doing my inventory. And I should have done it last time when I started doing my reshuffling and my in here, because it has changed so much in recent months. Because of just things coming in, things going, and new furniture. So it's one of those, it's like new old furniture. It's like a couch being moved from another room. Like, I don't want people thinking here, oh my God, new furniture. No, it's just an old couch. This is how cheap I am. I don't think I have paid for furniture, like any of the furniture in my living room. The desk, I think, was the only thing paid for. Everything else was hand-me-downs or stuff kind of left on the side of a road that was like, this is in good shape. We should just take this. So because I don't want, the last thing I want people to think is that I have some kind of leather furniture from like Bernie and Phil's from New England reference, folks. Great quality, great price.
I have the jingle in my head already. I'm just not doing it.
I could do another jingle, but you tell me to go fuck myself.
I absolutely
you would tell me to go fuck myself.
Because I already knew that was coming. As soon as I said it, I was just like, he's going to fucking say it. Please don't do it. Please don't do it.
Do you know how it, oh my, that's a story for another day. But it's
for another show.
It's a story for another show, yes. That was such a weird day. I think that was the same day that the Yankees traded to get Alex Rodriguez. And that was
All I know about that day is I was very high. That's about all I remember.
that
about
too.
day.
But that was I was in a fucking mood because
Wasn't
of
the
that.
brownie day, actually?
It may have been. I think it was the brownie
Pretty sure
day.
it was, because I think the other person that's part of that story I will not name, I think he was also under the influence, and I'm pretty sure it was from those.
Yes, we were.
Because I remember the giggly motherfucker he was. So
Yes, and I just remember me on the keyboard just being a complete asshole.
yeah, and then you taught him how to
And
do it, and then it kept going for like days.
Yep.
Thanks, by
Yep.
the way.
Yep, and that's why you hate it. If you go downstairs in my parents' basement, there is a hard hat with that fucking company on the hard hat. The next time I'm there, I'm gonna have to take a picture and send it and put it in the group chat, because you're just gonna be like, "Go fuck yourself."
No.
I hate you so much.
It's bad enough that I worked for like one of the successors of that company years later.
It's so funny how actually, now that you mention it, I think there is a towel in my parents' house that has 9X on it.
Yeah, so I know somebody that worked there, and then I worked for a successor of that company. It was Bell. It was the company that I'm referring to that I'm not.
Bell
gonna say, 'cause
Atlantic.
Dan, shut the fuck up. Because I don't want you making that fucking jingle right now. It was that. It was 9X, and then it became like one of the biggest companies because now it has cell phones too. Which I'm just not going to actually name it, but if you know Bell Atlantic, you know what I'm talking about.
Well, everybody, they're on their horizon of things. Sometimes you got to get different versions of horizons with some companies.
Just shut up.
Shut up, bitches!
I agree, Mr. Okada. Thank you. All right,
By the way, the jingle that we were talking about.
No. So how about this tag match?
How about it? Exactly how I would have wanted a matchup that includes two of your biggest stars teaming up.
I wouldn't even say two of your biggest. I would say your two biggest. But
Your two biggest stars of this era of the last 5 years.
Yep.
Teaming up together to kind of have like a mega powers type deal, and it was special. It was a special main event because if you think of everything that has happened the last 3 years between both guys in their careers. 3 years ago, you look at where Cody Rhodes was. 3 years ago, you look at where Roman Reigns was. This championship reign really wasn't hitting its. It really hadn't kind of hit its stride yet 3 years ago. It was starting to, but it was still kind of in the budding phase. And Cody was in mid-card hell in AEW. And now 3 years.
Self-inflicted, though, I feel like, in a little case.
Self-inflicted,
he boxed
kind of.
Himself out of
He did.
the title, so that's why I'm saying it.
And he was the most over guy they had, and he boxed himself out. It's like, oh, God. But he saw the writing on the wall. 3 years ago, it was Grand Slam. I remember when he came out, he had that long, massive cape, and it was like the largest thing I have. I don't know what they call it.
Man.
It really was. It was ridiculous. It was so big.
Yeah.
But 25,000 people in New York City were like, fuck you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa. Because then he could go to the Garden and it just. And it's roughly the same crowd because that's so funny to me because it's roughly the same crowd that it was 3 years ago. Because because New York has always ran smarky, is what I'm saying. It's always been a smart crowd. They always kind of had a pulse on what was going on backstage wise, what was going on pulse wise. And I think that that's kind of their thought process back then. And even still now, which kind of that's why I was like with the Cody thing when he came out with the booing and that type of stuff. But then you realize, yeah, it's two different audiences. More on that later. But everything that happened in this matchup that you kind of expected did happen, including the return of Jimmy Uso, which now adds more fuel to the fire for what is currently going on with the bloodline, because it's obvious that is not done by any means. Did
because really think it was going to be done anyways.
No, that we all knew that this thing was going to be a massive. We all knew that this is going to be a massive kind of story that's just going to have many, many chapters to it, and it really got going at the tail end of the show when. But we'll get to that, but we'll get into the after effect of the match where Jimmy had to convince Roman to go help Cody fend off against Tongaloa and Tomatonga.
And Solo.
And then, of course, Jacob Fatu. So then Roman and Jimmy went and were able to save him, adding another wrinkle to the relationship between Cody and Roman, because now Cody, can he look at him as like a full-time ally? And also, Jimmy Uso is now able to kind of have a conscience and be able
face turn, but yeah,
it's just, but again, Roman isn't changing anything. He's still the same guy that he was 4 years ago when he made the turn. It's the fact that the audience has made the switch for him.
Yep.
That's what's happened. That's the difference. He has reached a level of being so good as a heel, but at the same time being so over. Yep. They changed him without having him to change a thing about his character.
Well, this is what we saw with Rhea months ago.
Yes.
With a face turn. That's not really a face turn. She's still probably a heel, or at least considered as such. But she's so over that the audience, as you said, has made the switch for her. It's the same situation. We've seen it, years ago. Even you can make the argument that Austin was a heel for a long time, but he was just so over that.
Look at the Undertaker.
The Undertaker's another example.
The Undertaker was a walking zombie for years. Like, it's just, he's supposed to be the monster that everybody kills at the end. He wasn't.
Yeah,
he was
the final boss.
He was just this. He was the Jason Voorhees of the Michael Myers. Like, that's the heel character of, like, if he was in any other territory, he probably would have just stayed a heel his whole career, but he went to WWE, but he became this, again, because they just were able to make something where, because you think about where the origin started and everything that he had the cadence off of, it was this undead zombie, kind of like Michael Myers with the sit up and all that stuff. All his movements and stuff he got from Michael Myers. And then they were able to make him like this kind of cartoon character.
Yeah.
But they didn't change anything because he still had the coffin and the kind of darkness behind it, but they were able to make him like a cartoon, and they even did, because Jesus, like, I knew way before even he started doing the podcast when I saw that he did the animated Scooby-Doo movie.
Yeah.
and he played himself.
Yeah.
And I just sat there, and I remember I saw scenes from it with his voice, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, I hate it, but I don't at the same time because it fits. Because it fits because the character, that would be something that would happen. Like, if you want, and I'm just kind of sad they didn't do it sooner because, of course, they couldn't, though, because that was in the days of, well, Time Warner owns our ass, so we really can't be doing this. But now it's like, oh yeah, we can do it with them.
Yep.
But it just it fit, but at the same time, it was still kind of like that. I was just like, a part of me was like, I hate this, but it's so cool and kind of it fits, but I hate it, and that's kind of where I stand with all of this, because it's like, I love all of it. I love both of them teaming up and being able to be on the same page, but also at the same time, it's like, just fuck him over and just have him work with Solo. Though it was a big smudge the whole time. You're really evil again. Like that whole, why don't we just really kind of give Cody an adversarial type? Because how the hell are they going to get now to a third matchup when it's like they're teaming up together? It's like, I respect you. I respect you. It's like, but we stand in each other's way. Yeah, I stand in your way because I want. It's like, oh, we get it, guys. And that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from all of this. And now let's sprinkle The Rock in there too. It's like, all right. Because Dwayne did make his appearance at the end of it, which has really kind of still had, I mean, it has people talking, but at the same time, does it? Because I think everybody kind of knows where it's going. He made it clear during his promo after, like on social media, when he was just like, I loved when he went up to Dusty Rhodes on the side of a truck. I love you, but I hate your son. It's like, oh God.
Yeah. I don't know. I think everybody kind of knows where it's going to go anyways. Whether that's, at Survivor Series, whether that's at the Rumble, and obviously at WrestleMania. I think everybody kind of knows the direction it's going to go. It's just a question of what are they going to do to get there. And the only thing I can say is we'll find out. But apparently, Solo said something to the effect of it's all part of the plan. However, I don't think the plan was for KO to attack Cody Rhodes after the show outside his bus. Don't know about that. I feel like maybe that just adds another wrinkle to this whole situation too.
Well, I mean, of course, it's going to stem from the bloodline because
Of
it's
course.
like they were fighting against the bloodline, and now he's working against. It's like it's just it does give KO some credence, in my opinion, because of just what they have been fighting against for more than 3 years.
Yeah, and
because,
listen, I get it. I totally get where KO is coming from, story perspective, obviously, kayfabe, but it's just a weird situation. And I'm glad they're calling some kind of attention to it. I'm surprised nothing was mentioned Monday, aside from, showing it or oh, we know about the situation. I'm doing air quotes even though you can't see it. But
yeah.
It's just one of those situations where it's kind of hard to see where it's going to go now.
It is. It's really kind of, especially too, because it's like nothing is going to get settled for between KO and Cody until after Crown Jewel. So, or unless they do something on TV before then, I don't know though. Could they do a title match on TV? They've done it before. They did it with Gunther this past week on Raw. Where they have a title match on SmackDown. I don't know, though, if you're going to do that with Cody. But he doesn't really wrestle on TV. You got to see him on pay-per-view most of the time. But he does a lot of promo work, which, hey, that's that's how you sell tickets too. That's how you sell PLEs and subscriptions. So I get that. It's going to be very hard to not. The problem is that we've all seen Cody and we've all seen KO and their matchup before.
Yep.
So you have to add some high stakes to it. So it's going to be something like a Falls County. It's going to be a kind of a street fight or something. And it's going to be, of course, big spots, crazy, insanity, because you got to raise the stakes. But also, too, you have to make people want to come back and watch it because we've already seen the match. And we've gotten rematches so many times because they happen, right? It's not as bad as it was back in the day when it was just like this guy lost 2 of the last pay-per-views, but still we're going to give him another third try, and he's going to lose again, but it's going to be a third one. It's like, but why do you have to have a trilogy if he's going to lose all 3 matches? That's Vince logic. But whatever.
I mean, you want to talk Vince logic and go like 0-3. I mean, that's what he did with Seth Rollins and Cody in the first place.
Yep.
Seth go 0-3, which to me didn't make any sense because why have 3 matches then back to back, number one, but also on top of that, Seth had already struggled to get into WrestleMania. At least that was the kayfabe story, obviously, where he's having a downturn of his career, as it were. And then she goes 0-3 after that. It's just weird. But, like you said, that was Vince booking, so I don't know.
Yeah, that was the logic that he used. For a lot of stuff, I've seen it many a times, especially in the last decade, that he was in charge, where it was just, doesn't matter. It was right back. They would lose to John Cena 2 times, but then they'd still do third matchup. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, the only way that it would work for a third matchup is if, like, the first one was a disqualification or a count out. Then it's like, okay, you got to run it back. But at that point,
keep my mouth shut because we have another segment coming up for that. Listen, I think we can close this out. I almost said Breaking Bad. Holy crap! Bad Blood was just a phenomenal PLE. I put this honestly one of the top 2 of the year. I have to. If not top 3. Definitely top 3.
It's in the top 3 or 4 for me. Yeah, it's right up there. I thought SummerSlam was great. I thought WrestleMania was really good. I mean, I was at the Rumble, but it's like kind of predictable.
Yeah, the Rumble wasn't bad, but the Rumble I felt could have much more representation versus previous years.
I also didn't like the lack of surprises too. Was a hard one.
That's kind of what I mean. Yeah,
it did have Jordan Grace. Don't get me wrong. Jordan Grace was a big one, but it's like,
but it was her and Naomi, and that was it.
That was it. Even the men's side, there really wasn't many guys that was just like, oh shit. Like, it just was.
It felt flat. I mean,
the
year before I thought was much better.
Yes,
much better. But like you said, there was a huge lack of surprises. It was pretty predictable. And the women had more surprises than the men did, and to that point, it's kind of one of those situations where I was like, it's okay, but it's not blowing me out of the water or anything. But this did. This PLE was outstanding.
It was.
I will love to see how they start progressing some of the storylines and introducing newer ones moving forward, given some of what happened during this PLE. But I feel like at this point you're kind of chomping at the bit to talk about something else. So why don't we just get right into it?
So Tuesday night, NXT, of course, is moved to the CW network in a recent kind of media rights shakeup for them, where they were on USA for the last 5 years. And then they made the shift over. This is their second episode this week on CW. So that's kind of broadcast television. It's available in more homes. And because of what has been happening with TBS and TNT this time of the year, between the startup of the NHL season, which started up earlier this week, and Turner's rights deal with Major League Baseball, they have the exclusivity on, I think, the American League. So they play most of they play the division series and also, I believe, the ALCS. So they have that covered. So they're going to cover that, and they're going to play those games on their major networks on TNT and TBS. So AEW had to shift to Tuesday this week, and what they called Title Tuesday, and they were not going to be on at 8 o'clock. They were going to be on at 9. So it's going to be 9 to 11 instead of 8 to 10. So it was really going to be head to head for AEW and WWE between the 9 and 10 o'clock hour. So today, I actually, about an hour before the show, I did some research, and I found out that during the Wednesday night war between NXT and AEW, that, the majority of the time NXT lost to AEW. It was a very one-sided affair. But I was looking at the numbers, and I noticed that NXT never went below a certain amount. NXT was always above 500,000. Never went below 500K. Sometimes it'd be in the 550s, 560s, maybe 520s, 540s, something. Never went below 500K. So NXT's audience in the last 4 years since that has really been on an upswing, mostly because of the fact that they ran unopposed, because they went to Tuesdays, but also because the content's gotten better, especially when HBK really took over and kind of gotten rid of the old tie-dye design that they had, which was a bad era for them and really wasn't what they were built on. But now they've really built something special. And yes, they did have Randy Orton on the show because they were from St. Louis. But it wasn't like they stacked the deck. So,
Like the last head-to-head, you mean?
hey, look. Sometimes you got to play dirty and love war and business. So, sometimes you got to give them a break. So, the ratings, NXT, I think last week did around 890, something like that. It was like and that was up against some stiff competition. I think it was the vice presidential debate and playoff baseball. I think the wild card series was going on, and also too the WNBA playoffs, which people probably can poo-poo on, but at the same time, I don't think you should, because they have had tremendous growth this year, and I think have become really been, especially with their media rights deal, they've really had tremendous growth as an organization, and they might actually turn a profit on their own for once, which will be outstanding for that organization. And I really hope it happens for them. So, but they still did better than what CW thought. They were like 500,000 is good enough for us. But now it's like they're getting almost double that, because they're getting, in the 800s, between 800 and 900,000. That's a good number. It's a solid number. It's kind of what AEW was doing about a year and a half ago on Solid every week. So this week, NXT did 874,000, which again, solid number. Kind of, they really didn't have much drop off compared to last week, which I think as a network, you're going to look at that and say they're consistent. That is nothing but consistency, and I think we're gonna do great. I'm really enjoying and really have future. Now, NXT doing really good. Look at AEW, their numbers. Now, mind you, AEW, $175 million, between 175 and 180 million, supposedly, for their media rights deal. $329,000 people to watch.
I think I have it because you did send it to me earlier. The only thing is, I will say it's huge, so it's gonna block us out. But I'm just gonna put that up right now. So this is the August 8th episode of AEW Dynamite, and I had to enlarge it because if I try to minimize this picture, you can't read anything, and you can barely read it as it is, anyways. But it started at a 450 for the opening segment, and then it just never really recovered.
John Moxley ran off 150,000 people in one segment.
Yep.
And he is a guy that you're paying over. You never get above 300,000 until the 10 o'clock hour. And that's probably people that were like thinking what was on. And that was between Saraya and Nyla Rose, which, you know what? I'll give them credit. They did hold the audience. They did hold the audience for like the rest of the night. Until, of course, they got
Jack Perry.
And then they dropped below 300,000 again. And then, of course, they have the overrun with Bryan Danielson, and they do they bring back another 30,000. But this is also their go home show for their pay per view this weekend, by the way.
Yeah,
because they have Wrestle Dream this weekend. I think this is their show, which will be taking place from Tacoma, Washington, which is supposedly the last match of which I expect in many that this weekend will be Bryan Danielson's last match as a full-time performer.
Yeah. It feels that way.
Which, after some of the things that I heard him say in interviews this week, can't fucking come soon enough. I guess in a recent interview that he was saying in the match with, I believe Nigel, or it was somebody else, where he lost it was against Okada. He lost the function of his legs and only really kind of was able to do anything else for the rest of the match based on muscle memory alone. I never met the man. I think he's a tremendous talent. I think he is going to go down as probably one of the best in-ring performers, at least on the technical side of things, in the history of this industry. By no means do I think that he was ever as big as a star as people made him out to be. And my problem that I have is that he could have not realized and just stayed at 80% his career and just not pushed himself to 100 and 110%, because I heard all the rumors, even him going into WWE, that he had problems. And I'm talking physically. I heard about the story of him getting his retina torn off in a match and then continuing to wrestle for 40 minutes longer. It's like, that was stupid.
Yeah.
And this whole run has been stupid. The last
Tell
3
us how you really
years,
feel, Dan.
the last 3 years has been stupid. Not because you left. I'm not mad because you left the WWE. I am not mad because, you know what? You didn't have anything really left on the table there to do. Except to kind of be like an elder statesman that cash in a couple of more years of checks and put some guys over. Maybe you get a championship, like you'd be an elder statesman. They'd put you in the Hall of Fame. You'd probably be down in NXT helping Shawn Michaels and CM Punk if he decided to come back. Like it whole bunch of things you'd be doing to kind of help the next generation of talent come through the door. Because I'll be honest, you probably have inspired an entire generation of talent.
I would.
You have.
Yeah.
I would. Yeah, I think he has. I think without question he has inspired an entire generation. Because look, I cannot say anything negatively about your in-ring work because you are one of the best in-ring performers I've ever seen. Not as big as a star as you think you are, and not as big as a star as other people think you are. Because I feel like the last 3 years, all you have proven to me and to yourself is the fact that you're a fucking mark. Because you put your body through this when 6 years ago you got your second chance into this industry. When they wouldn't clear you. They saw what was going on with you and they said, we're not clearing you. At a time where they needed you. They had no one that won WrestleMania. WrestleMania 32 in Dallas, they had no one. Which I love when people say they kept him out so they could get Roman Reigns over. And I'd be like, are you fucking stupid? Are you that dumb? Do you think that this company that literally has to scrape at the bottom to try to figure out who they're going to put on at fucking WrestleMania, they're going to keep Daniel Bryan out of the main event spot. They're going to fake medical records to keep him out so that way they can get Roman Reigns over. Are you that stupid? Because you must be stupid to think that.
That is pretty stupid, honestly.
I heard that so much. And I'm like, are you this dumb? They're going to keep him out of the ring so they can get Roman Reigns over. Meanwhile, they're going to get Triple H to put him over at WrestleMania because no one else is healthy.
Yep.
They didn't have John Cena was on the shelf. Seth Rollins was out. They had nobody. They're just making him stay. Oh, yeah, okay. But the last 3 years, you have put your body through the meat grinder. To the literal point of you have to have neck surgery again. There's probably nerve damage. And like I said, I've seen guys work your style. I've seen a lot of guys work that style. One of them killed his family and killed himself. One of them ended up in a wheelchair. And one of them ended up in a wheelchair and then died prematurely as well.
Cornbread, damn it, cornbread.
I'm not saying any of that or all of that is going to happen to you. I'm not saying any of that. But we need to learn from the mistakes that have been made by others in this great industry and figure out when enough is enough. I understand you're retiring now as a full-time talent, but you
should have done this 5 years ago.
You should have
retired.
You should have just said, this is it. Like this, or you should have have retired at WrestleMania after you get beat by Roman Reigns, and that was it. You got back to the main event scene, and that was it. But you had to go to this company, and you had to make it feel, oh, it's like Ring of Honor again. No, it's not Ring of Honor again. You're older. You need to realize it's not trying to, and I understand you were proved to everybody. You proved to me you didn't lose a step. You didn't lose a step at all. Again, you were one of the best.
It's safe to return, though.
That's the problem.
Biggest thing that I took.
That's the problem. Is the fact that you didn't realize I can't do this. I shouldn't do this.
The shouldn't is the biggest for me. You know, like you said, you know, you kind of proved, okay, you can do this, but there's that.
At what cost?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, listen, like WWE doctors are not clearing you, but AEW is. What does that kind of tell you?
They cleared him, and if he re-signed, they would have kept him going. You know, like he wouldn't have. And Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan under Triple H's booker, I would have loved to have seen it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, matches with him and Gunther, matches with him and Cody, matches with him and Punk again. Like, there's a lot of meat on the table, a lot of meat on the bone for Daniel Bryan still being in WWE. And the only reason I'm saying that is because I know in that company they would take care of him.
Absolutely.
And they would tell him when enough is enough. Problem is, he's with a company that this guy gets off by the stuff that happens in that ring.
Kind of hate to say it that way, but you're also not wrong.
I know. Hey, look, and I know tonight everybody's just fucking live rounds all over the place, but I get annoyed when I see a guy that I like and I truly admire, because again, I think he's a tremendous talent. He's one of the best technical wrestlers I've ever seen in my life. Again, I was also a fan of another technical wrestler that had a similar style, and I really fucking hated his outcome.
Yeah.
And that's my concern. And I'm not saying that out of being a hater, and I'm not saying that he shouldn't live his life anyway. Because, look, it's his life, it's his decision. But I'm seeing what it's doing to his body, and it's bothering me.
Yeah.
It's bothering me. It's entering a territory of it's no longer fun to watch a match of his and see him in pain, or see him have to feign being in pain when I'm hearing his legs aren't working great. His arms weren't, there's nerve damage. He has to have neck surgery again. It's like, dude, I look at what happened to Kurt Angle when he had the neck surgery. Because again, he didn't know when enough was enough. And it's like now he's just permanently fucked up.
Yeah.
Permanently.
Yep.
And think of Paul Orndorff, the end of his career.
Yep.
One arm looked just completely atrophied. And that's my concern, ultimately, that he's going to be done, or he's going to be relegated to be doing, you know, and I Dynamite Kid towards the end of his career. Jesus. Like, especially him too, because it was like he had a 10-year prime pretty much from like 78 and then 88 when his back blew out. That was it.
Listen, I said it earlier, or at least I alluded to it, but, you know,
Goldberg, the last match he had in Saudi Arabia against Roman Reigns, he did not look good.
No. He's in an age bracket too, where it's like you're not recovering.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not recovering tomorrow. You know, it's like, especially too when he was doing it, I could understand when he was younger or he was in Ring of Honor because he was probably having to make other dates, doing other bookings because you did the wrestling business back then. When you're an indie guy, you had to make every shot you could to make your money. So, yeah, I'm sure there was a lot of times that he had injuries from one match and was carrying over. And that's probably what caught up with him.
Most likely.
All those concussions, all those tears, all those, those compressions. Yeah, they're all going to catch up. And this weekend's probably it. I mean, if we saw I saw the ratings that first quarter hour where they lost like 140, 150,000 people. The guy that's going to be your world champion after this weekend was in your top segment out for that. So I'd be a little concerned now that you're putting the strap on a guy where 150,000 people at the top of the hour to your go-home show was like, yeah, fuck this.
Yeah. Listen, I didn't watch either show this week of
Right.
NXT or AEW. I just, had other stuff going on that I needed to focus on. But I will say that it's a problem. I feel like this HBO Time Warner deal is like okay, we're gonna keep you, and we have an interest, but we don't really care that much, and it feels very much like WCW at the end, where okay, you got a contract, but the company's not doing well, and that's really how this feels lately, and it almost feels like they're booking that way too. And, I made comments the last couple of shows when we talked about AEW that Tony Khan has said to the talent that we no longer book long term, we book week to week. And if you look at, the comment I have in the bottom right by Dave Meltzer, NXT did 874.24 demo, AEW did 392 with a .10 demo. It was clear at this point AEW's audience, unlike 2 years ago, is choosing WWE, and they have less of an exclusive audience than before. And
Right.
it really does feel that way at this
point. It does. The tides have turned. They've turned for a while, but it's really official now to me that the separation between these two companies now, because 3 years ago, they were so close. They were so close. They were right on that edge of just being able to get to that top. And I was just like, yeah, like now it's a war. I felt, it's like you had CM Punk, you had Bryan Danielson, and then you had Adam Cole all locked up. Everybody was healthy. Everybody was in good spirits. And then the bottom drops out. And it starts with Cody. And then it starts with, oh boy, the Elite pissed CM Punk off. And it's been so documented, the steps that have derailed this company's momentum. But this week is a stark reminder to them, and I think to their fan base, that look, you guys ain't shit. You're an indie fed. That's what you are. You're an indie fed with a big budget. You have no stories. You just book matches for the sake of booking matches. And you're an indie booker. It's like, because there's no, half the time you go to these shows, the way that he even books it, like he puts it on his social media, it looks like an indie card. Because this match card, there's the face. It's like WWE doesn't do that. That's it's just, and everybody's like, oh, why are you comparing them to WWE? Well, I'm comparing them because they at least tell you or at least doesn't make like have a match card put on it, like printed out like it's something on a poster. There's some dick out there because the guy has to be a dick to do this, but he's probably such a fan of this company that he has all the match cards printed out, like, and he puts it in like some notebook somewhere. Fucking weirdo. But you know it exists.
Like my college roommate with college football.
Yeah, except that served a purpose
Did it though?
for himself.
Did it though?
But even though I told
Did
him all
it
the
though?
time, like, why don't you go look for fucking Mel Kiper or something? What are you doing?
Seriously.
Like, he focused so much on that. I was just like, you can get a job especially with like analytics now. He could have done well for himself.
I'm not touching that. Because the guy at the very bottom in the clown makeup has his sports analytic company.
Well, I mean, that's why they're never going to get Belichick either. I know there's a lot of people out there that are like, oh, if the Jaguars fire Peterson, Belichick's going to go there. It's like,
That is the chatter.
because I don't know if Tony walks into a room and Bill Belichick is standing there and Tony tries to talk to him about it, like, if Tony pitched him an idea to come on AEW for a segment, I think Belichick would tell him to go fuck himself, and he would get on a plane and come back to Nantucket in a heartbeat. Because he'd be like, fuck this.
He might do it for a paycheck though.
I think if anywhere, I think Belichick's going to go. If anywhere he's going, it's going to be one of three of the NFC teams that I've been talking about for a while, or Chicago. I think it's going to be 4 teams. It's going to be the Bears, the Giants, the Cowboys, or the Eagles.
You don't see him in San Francisco either?
Sure, because if they have another early playoff exit, they could be like, if they have a chance to get Bill. Well, the problem is that Jed York, who's the owner over there, is a fucking idiot. So I don't know if I don't know if they'd if Belichick would bite. And I know everybody's just like, I don't know if Jerry and Bill could coexist. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
And I honestly think Jerry would give him so much autonomy and money.
I think that's a safe bet.
Like, it +2, that would be the mega merger of 2 of the most evil people in the NFL in most people's minds. Instantly, that would make them the most hate. They already are the most hated team in the NFL. That would make them even more hated.
That is a good point.
It's like Belichick. It's like Hogan going to the NWO. It's literally just like, oh no. And I actually root for it. Like, if anything, because and I'd hate rooting for the Cowboys, but it's like Bill's coaching. Fuck.
Yeah. I 100% agree with you. I 100% agree. That's exactly what I was thinking when you said it too. I was just like, man, I agree. I see him going to the Cowboys potentially. Man, do I not fucking want that.
I hate it, but it's like, because you're sitting there and it's like, hey, Cowboys game is on. Fuck. And then you're just like, who gives a shit? Bill's coaching. Shit. Yeah.
Yep.
Like that, because that's the only, because I want to see him do well. I want to see Bill do well. I just hope it's not for the Jaguars. Because I'm trying to stay on topic here, folks.
Yeah.
Trying, but it does kind of affect when you're talking about the Jaguars, because Tony Khan is involved with the Jaguars. Yeah, I want to keep, because I hate harping on it. I hate also coming on here and being like more Tony Khan hate, because he makes it easy.
He does. He really does. I'm sorry.
He makes it so easy. He says dumb shit all the time, and he brings his company, like, it's a comedy every week. Every week, there's something new that I'm just like, what the fuck is he doing? And does he do good things? Of course.
I mean, once in a while.
Once in a while, he does good things. Do I call him out on it? Yeah, I do. I praised him before. I praised him 3 years ago after he got CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, and Adam Cole. I said, fuck. He's got no excuse in the world now why you can't take him over.
I mean,
Fucked it all up.
listen, I'll say it this way, and I feel like running out of words for Tony Khan, but he's way too excitable. I want him to give up a major part of his roles. Be the owner. I'm down for you being the owner because you do make some pretty somewhat intelligent signings. Somewhat. Keyword. But I feel like you should not be booking. You should not be writing. You could be the GM too. I don't think that really has much leeway. You can have the final say on things. I'm fine with all of that. But stop writing your television. Because it's awful. I can't stand it. And I know there's people, oh, well, he puts on great matches because the talent. I'm like, yeah, but that's great, but that doesn't serve anything for me. I want some reason why I'm seeing two awful finishes to Will Ospreay and Ricochet. First, you do a draw, and then it doesn't matter because somebody comes out and interrupts the match and gets thrown out. Like, why are you doing that? On your 5th anniversary show, why the fuck are you doing that? Put on a great match. That would have been a great anniversary show had they just put on great matches and that's it. But they just fucking ruined it. And this is why people are checking out. Because what's WWE doing? Why is WWE trending so much? What did Cody do now? I used to know him in AEW. Oh, Roman Reigns is back. Okay, maybe I'll see if that's any different than it was 5 years ago. Newsflash, it is, by the way.
It is.
It's just, I don't like the product enough to want to watch some of those matches. I put on the 5th anniversary. There's occasionally I'll look at what's going on any given night, and I might put on a match or so. I used to do that when CM Punk was there and he was facing MJF. I'm like, okay, I'll put it on. I'll put that match on. So I'll put it on like last hour. Or John Mox is going to say something. I'll throw it on for the first 20 minutes and then be like everybody else and peace out. Because I don't care about the rest of the show. Because nothing's interesting to me. Maybe I'll check back in for the tag team match of whatever the hell they're called now against, Brian Danielson, Daniel Bryanson, whatever the hell his name is at this point, because I can't remember. And what do you call him? The garbage man, Wheeler Yuta? Like,
No, the gas station.
the gas station is on the unit. It's just like, I don't care. I'm not invested. And kind of like you said, it's the go home Tuesday night, Wednesday night early show, which is supposed to be your flagship show. And you're not doing anything to increase my interest in potentially buying this pay-per-view.
No.
You're just not.
You'll get the same 120,000 people that buy a show every fucking time.
Yeah.
No growth,
Pretty
no
much.
decrease, which is consistent, great. But the problem is that you know what the gate's going to be. You know what the gate's going to be. You know what your money's going to be. Not everybody in the world. It's not going to be like when Sting retired, because that was one of your best shows of the year, drawing wise, and people actually bought it because they wanted to see Sting's exit. And this is what people are expecting that's going to happen this weekend. It's got a very WrestleMania 24 vibe to it, where everybody coming into it was like, yeah, Flair's leaving, and it's going to be his retirement. Doesn't have that same feel. Doesn't. And that's because, again, unfortunately, and I hate to burst everybody's bubble, to Mark's, which AEW is, it's a company run by a Mark who hires Marks for Marks. And
Who? I'm kidding.
And I'll be 100% honest with it. And some people in the wrestling business, when they call them a mark, it's like, I'm an idiot. Or they hate it. But it's like, it's the truth. I am a mark. Proud and for it. Like, I understand it. Like, I'm not upset by it. I know the industry like the back of my hand. Wear the t-shirts. Obsess about it on a consistent basis. Yeah. Angles and that type of stuff. It's something that I absolutely love and adore. So yeah, I get a mark. That's why I've been doing this my whole fucking life. And this just comes natural. Now I just get paid for it. And cool. So, but even I look at this product and I look at the guy running it and I look at the people involved with, and I see how Ricochet conducts himself on social media. You're a fucking mark, bro.
I feel like he's a mark, and I feel like he's also a mark for himself, which is just
that's the fucking problem. It's like Ricochet's the type of guy that's going to put his fucking PWI rating as soon as it gets higher. As soon as it, of course, it's going to get higher now in his mind, even though he's probably Ricochet in 3 months is going to be in the same position that he was is going to be in the same position that he was in WWE 6 months ago.
I feel like he's already there.
Tell me you're not, Ricochet. Tell me you're not. Yeah, you're right. Because
he had what? A couple of good matches, and then
every time I've seen him on the mic, he's been shit.
Well, that's a carryover from WWE, especially. He was shit.
But there he had a script.
He still sucked at. So.
And it's like how he conducts himself on the internet. It's like, dude.
For me, honestly, when I look at the two of them, him and Ospreay, I just look at it like he did the thing, and now I can move on with the rest of my life again.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you did your flips, you did your sequence. You're probably gonna do it again next week. Why do I care? And that's how I feel he got booked in that match against Will Ospreay last week for the 5th anniversary, and I feel like he's gonna continue to get booked that way. And that's assuming he gets booked on a regular basis, which probably won't happen, like you said.
3 months from now, he's probably going to be sitting at home for 3 weeks in a row.
Oh,
or he's going to be booked on Collision where no one gives a shit. Yeah, exactly. You're going to make good money, great, but don't tell me in 3 to 6 months from now that your position is any better than it was in WWE, because it's not going to be.
I don't even think it was about the money for him.
No, it was just like,
how he was going to be.
I'm going to get fucking same.
Yeah,
it's a lateral move you made. Sorry, dude.
I know. I mean,
hate to burst your bubble. You're probably going to respond to me online. If you find this, you're going to be like, "Oh my god, I can't believe he said this!" This whole thing, and I'll have 500 AEW fans coming to my house. No, actually, they won't, because nobody gives a shit. I'll have 10 people on Twitter getting mad.
They have to ask to drive their mother's car first. So
exactly.
Nobody's going to show up anyways, Dan.
Nobody cares. Even their fans, even their diehards are dying off. Because they know, even JD from New York. JD from New York used to live and die for this company. You know what? Look. Even Dan can get turned around and be like, "Hey, all right, guy. You're all right with me."
Shut up, bitches.
JD from New York, anytime you want to come on this program, you're more than welcome.
Smoke.
Actually, the second time that I meant to hit this one instead.
Because I'm not booked.
Yeah, no, it would just be hilarious just because I could just throw out one thing and just me and him, he could rant on it and I could just rebuttal it, and it would just be hilarious from that point of view, because there is certain thing. Because again, it's like with there are certain wrestling personalities I cannot stand whatsoever.
It might, I don't know. It might be zero.
I only watch Dave now to get mad. That's it. Like if I want to get mad or if I want to get annoyed,
I don't want to watch him. Nope, I won't do it. The Babs only.
But I watch JD from New York to laugh. Solid Monster's become, as I used to not like the Solid Monster. Now I've kind of turned around on him too.
He's more tolerable now, I feel like.
Yeah, he is. A couple of years ago, there were a lot of these guys that, and I'm not saying they're coming around to my logic, but they're seeing what I have been seeing since day one.
I know.
And
hold on. I don't want to say just that though, because I don't think that tells enough of the story. I think a lot of these people, and we've talked about this before in different moments and different episodes, a lot of people got salty with the way Vince was running the company, and they had checking out.
Exactly.
No, they absolutely did. I 100% agree. They had every right to. My argument, though, is more the fact that he is gone. Some people were not willing to give Triple H a chance. Now they're actively hearing or seeing what Triple H has done with that roster, with that talent, and with the stories that he's telling.
Yes.
And they're all starting to just turn right back around. And they're starting to engage with it again. And you look at the gates, you look at the social media engagement, you look at all this stuff that they're doing, even outside of the ring, but still, part of it. Their merch sales are way up. Way up.
Oh, yeah.
It's like night and day.
AEW is on the opposite end.
Yeah. Because who cares?
They went down. Their merch sales when Punk got fired went down 70%.
I believe it.
It was massive. Like you go. I remember when their action figures first came out, you couldn't find them. Could not. They were one of the hottest wrestling figures out I have ever seen. Like those first editions, which all sucked, by the way. Like in retrospect, I got rid of them because they were just terrible. But again, they were pushed out and people bought them like hotcakes because it was, again, they were one of the hottest properties, I think, because again, and I understand a lot of the wrestling pundits, like the Solid Monster, and the fatigue that those guys had to deal with of watching a bad Monday Night Raw every week, the fatigue that they dealt with of a bad SmackDown every week. And so I get it from that perspective of I'm going to give all I can to AEW, and the fact too that AEW was treating them with their proper due and respect, and the fact of that they have been very, very kind to a lot of the wrestling journalists out there that I think WWE for so long was shunning away from. But now that's changed. I think not only with, and that was starting to change a couple of years ago too, with a lot of these media calls and that type of stuff that they were doing, especially with Triple H and NXT.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah. Not even just those, but also like the press conferences after the PLEs.
Yeah.
You used to see them for like few and far between, and all of a sudden it's just like almost every pay-per-view or PLE, excuse me, you have one. It's like night and day. They opened up to the media more than they ever did under Vince.
Everybody now is doing a podcast every week, like an interview, and it's not like they have shackles on them, because you look at like CM Punk's interview with Ariel Helwani, where it was just like, ask me anything, bro. It's like, fuck. All right, let's, what do you want to know? Well, I want to know everything. Okay, I'll be telling you everything. And it's like, that was...
But I also feel that's Punk, though.
It was everything, and the fact is that, and that was my number one thing that they did this year that I said, don't fucking do it. Because if you exonerate him, you're fucked. And that's what happened. Because everything he said in that video is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Everything that was in that Ariel Helwani video was just like lined up perfectly.
Yeah.
And it was like,
Legit,
but they thought,
once they showed it,
they thought to their wildest dreams they were going to be the baby faces coming out of this. And I was like, there's no chance if that video is exactly what he said. And I watched it and I just said, I couldn't believe it. I still can't believe that they went with that. Like, and thought to themselves, mind you, and I'll give a little praise to Jack Perry. He's done all right for himself to turn around the negative into a positive.
I agree.
And that has nothing to do with Tony Khan's booking, however.
No, it doesn't.
That has everything to do with him trying to get himself. And he's finally made himself relevant in the industry without having to try to. Look, he's in a hell of a lot position because I thought it was just like he's the boy and his dinosaur and that's it. Or he's Jack Perry's, or he's Luke Perry's son. That's it. That's what he's going to be known for. Yeah, Anna Shay's boyfriend. There's still a thing? I didn't know.
I actually don't know if they are still, but
I thought she was in New Japan too at one
I think
point.
she's back now, actually.
Yeah, I think she was at Stardom actually. I'd be surprised how. I really want to know how she kind of transferred kind of translated from Stardom now to the States. I wonder what she kind of picked up from over there. If all of a sudden a year from now we're just like, so Anna Jay is like one of the best female wrestlers in the world. Like, I don't know how that happened. How's that on my bingo card from 5 years ago? What the fuck just happened? Like, that legitimately could be happening. She's young enough too,
She is.
where it's like, oh boy, like if she got some seasoning over there, she could become a real fucking player. And that, but I always felt like too, she had the ability to do that. Yeah. Where, but I look at them this weekend going into this pay-per-view and they got this media rights deal coming up and it's like,
I mean, the deal is done at this point.
here's the problem too that they're going to have. So everybody's going to be able to watch their entire back catalog. That's going to be interesting now of the long documentaries of when people are going to be like, I can exactly pinpoint when everything went to shit right here. Like, and then it's going to be this elongated, like 6-hour film of just every moment of just what happened leading up to where we are now.
It's funny because for me, the only interest I would have in their library isn't even them; it's Ring of Honor.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's
I don't care about AEW.
yeah. Like I want to see Ring of Honor from like 02, 03, 04, 05.
Exactly.
Like I want to be able to see all those days of the Punks, the Samoa Joes, the AJ Styles, the Ravens. That's what I want to go back to. I don't want to sit there and have to look at the best of the Young Bucks and stuff like that because some of their stuff maybe, but not like I'm gonna want to watch like everything that they've done their entire career. Yeah, I'll definitely do that about Bryan Danielson though. I'll go back to his stuff, no fucking problem.
Yep.
Because again, he's one of the look, I'm not saying that he's crap or anything like that. Again, my only concern is for his health out of this and out of his lifestyle and some of the decisions that he's made that I've questioned. because I don't think it's worth it to be in the position that he's in this stage of his life, to be his body where it is. It's like, dude, you had a second chance. Why the fuck are you doing this, bro? Come on.
Yeah.
Like, this is
When
is-
he first came in, I'm sorry to cut you off, but like when he first came in, that was even my thought then. Like, what are you doing? But had they pulled the trigger earlier with giving him a world title run, I probably wouldn't have hated it.
no.
Give him a year and a half, and I'm okay with it. At this point, though, no. Like, and you could just see it. We talked about it, like, you just see, like, he is not where he really needs to be to perform at the level that he wants to perform at, and it shows.
Ric Flair in 2008, in my opinion, given the right circumstance, especially against Shawn Michaels, but if he had to because I saw Ric Flair have great matches, even in like 2006, against like Ric Flair, against like Big Show. Flair was a complete anomaly. He was able, up until about the point that he was 60 years old, have a really great match. Some of them, yeah, he did the hardcore stuff. The Big Show match for the ECW title, which, fuck, I never thought I would say that, but it happened. That was one of the better things that did come out of that new ECW, was Flair and Big Show in a hardcore match. And it was again a matchup that you just thought there for a minute. And Flair was able to do that again in a random Raw match against Triple H one time. And for like 30 seconds, you thought Flair was going to win the title. Like, little moments
Right.
that you knew, but Flair was able to do what he was able to do in 1988 and 1983 and 1978. All that stuff that he did the previous 30 years was the same Ric Flair. Yeah, he was a little bit slower. Yeah, he was a little bit heavier. He was a little older. But he still was Ric fucking Flair. And he didn't have to push himself to beyond his limits. Did he overstay his welcome and came back when he shouldn't have? Of course he did. Of course he did. But when you're Ric Flair, you got to pay for shit. You just do. Like, it's just fucking five for the fifth time. This fucking guy for the fifth. Like, he is, the next time he gets married, he now matches Michael Jordan for rings.
Oh my goodness.
Like, 6 fucking times. Like, Jesus. And I love the man. I love Flair. Like, he's still, in my opinion, he's still the best ever. I think if I look back on it if I went back and did some research, like when I did my 30 for 30, and I'm definitely probably going to do a 40 for 40 at some point, of the 40 best wrestlers of my 40 years of being a wrestling fan, Bryan Danielson would be on my list. Without question.
Yeah, he probably.
Because he's a phenomenal wrestler. Some of the best matches I've ever seen as a performer. Again, that Ospreay match was a fucking masterpiece. But the problem is the cost of, knowing what I know now, and seeing what has happened in years past, which we're past now. but it was a very dark time for a few years when every other week it was another guy that you liked at one point dying prematurely.
Yep.
A lot of guys and women that just you heard about and you're just like, what the fuck? And it stems from either going too long, pushing yourself way too far, or everything piling up and exploding at one point. And I don't want to see any of that happen. And it disgusts me that Tony Khan doesn't step in and say, that's it. Like, you need to I need you here, and you got to stop this because, and what aftercare do you got to pay for, Tony? Like, what, like,
Yeah, who knows?
what are we talking about here? What are we talking? What type of work needs to get done to get him to be able to be a contributing member, not somebody that's going to end up on disability because his arm is atrophied or he can't get the feel like.
Can't get the feeling back in his legs.
Oh my God! You have no idea. You have no idea how much that would fucking bother me if he ended up in a wheelchair because of something like that. That would drive me fucking crazy.
Well, if that did happen, hopefully others would learn from that, and
because it's
hate
just
that happens at his sake. But
it's like because of the fact that you inspire an entire generation of talent. I want you to be able to do the right thing for the generation of talent that you did inspire and show them and say, this is how you realize when it's time to step back and don't be like me. And don't push yourself because it's no longer fun for me. It's more or less just saying, it's like watching a boxer that is declining, but yet is still a contender. Like watching Tyson at the end where you're just like, God damn it, fuck. Come on.
Dude still have power though.
Yeah, it's just like the Lennox Lewis fight. You're watching it and you're just like, it's a long shot, but at the same time, it could still fucking knock him out. Especially to Lennox Lewis because he got knocked out by like Rasheed Brockman, for Christ's sake. It's like he was the flash knockout guy. Ended up got knocked out by one time, I think by like Oliver McCall or something. Like just random guys at one point you've never heard of, and it's just like boop and new heavyweight champion. What the fuck just happened?
Yeah, exactly.
Never heard of this guy. How is he the champion? And I don't want that kind of, I don't want him to see him in a wrestling show and he's walking with a cane at like 44. It's like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah.
Why didn't you just stop? Why didn't you just say, fuck this? What am I doing? Like, honestly, because
I mean,
the
thing is, too, for me, it's not even like all the shit that we've already said, really, but it's his family too.
Yeah,
he's got young kids. It's like, come on, man, what are you doing?
He's got a very talented wife,
Yeah.
who willing to to put up with this too, where it's just like,
He married
because
that's by the way.
he did.
Or, I'm sorry.
Garcia.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm not going to comment on the other one.
Me either.
That whole fucking
But
situation.
that's also again why I'm just leaving
Yeah,
it flat.
yeah,
he married
I
the right
know.
one.
I know. He did. Still going to put up with that shit.
I mean, how much does he really have to put up with, though?
Enough.
Exactly.
Fuck enough.
I guess.
It's fucking enough. Where you're just sitting there, you're just like, that's probably why he keeps doing it too, because you're just like, I don't have to fucking listen to this. Probably went to Tony already. He's just like, yeah, give me another 6 months. Fuck it. Let's keep this going. I can put it off. It's fine. He's probably staying at the house all the time. He's just like, fuck me.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Maybe he's like, you know what? I'd rather be on the road dealing with
Yeah, exactly. You know what?
Home dealing with
Now with this situation that just happened recently, you know what? He might just say, when does Kenny come back? I can wait 6 months.
I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised at all.
He's just out of the house. It's like, fuck this.
I wake up in pain every day, but at least I don't have to deal with it.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Drags himself. If it's, you know what, then, Daniel, I understand.
Yeah, if that's the scenario, Dan, we totally got it.
Boo ran.
I understand, Brian. He's such a fucking, like, because I know it's not the same name. It is the same name. It's the same fucking character. Come on. Like, really? He uses the yes chant even, for fuck's sake.
I know,
even though they
used it last week, too. I'm just going to call him Daniel McDanielson.
Yeah, really at this point, right? Like, it's just, it's Brian Daniel. Like, it's just, we'll do that. How about that?
Daniel McDanielson.
Yeah.
What I'm going with now.
Daniel McDanielson. Yeah. Thing about it is, I just poked up my whole thing into this whole thing, where I just completely killed it. Where all of a sudden I just went into this whole thing of just like 20 minutes where I'm just like, I fear for this guy's like well-being and stuff like that. And then I just remembered all this bullshit's going on. She's probably at the house.
Like,
She's
actually,
probably
you know
like,
what?
fuck this.
Yeah, actually, you know what? Ops. You want to destroy
You know
your
what?
quality of life to stay
Keep
away
the
from
belt.
your wife's twin
Fucking
sister?
just keep this going. Keep the train moving. You know what? I get it. God, he's just probably sitting there. I'm not ready for this. But you said, no, it's fine.
I hope that she gets in the ring on Sunday with her sister, and he just tries to get away from them.
I really hope.
You know what I hope? Honestly, she's there, and he's just like, yeah, honey, I promise. I said, this is it, honey. I promise. I swear to you. And then he just goes, and then he wins, and he just looks at her, and he's just like,
Yeah, exactly. The
Like-
shrug. Yep. Exactly.
that's the ending. And then all of a sudden, the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme starts. Like, that's the end.
Dun, dun,
Just-
dun, dun,
She's all pissed
dun,
off,
dun.
and he's just like, oh, well.
Oh my god. I could still see that happening too. It's the
I
funniest
look,
thing
hey,
ever.
you know what? At that point, like, if he did that, I would laugh my balls off, and I'd be like, you know what? Fuck it. He's on my list.
I mean, shit, he would move up a lot of spots if he
He would. He'd be like, immediately, I'd be like, wow. Like, I gotta put him, like, really high on my list. Just because it's like the ultimate fuck you. Like, it really is. It's
really
like,
is,
I
yeah.
want you to retire. I'm ready. Oh, my sister's here. I'm really not fucking ready. Like,
I'm really not prepared for this right now.
Tony,
I'm not done.
Tony, can you
Fuck
extend my
you.
contract?
Oh man.
Tony, let's do this for a year. All right. Look, It's at my fucking house every day. God damn it. Please. God.
Oh man.
If you won't do it, I'll call Triple H. I swear to God. Fuck this. I'm not staying here. I'm not.
I don't even think.
Fuck you.
I think at this point Tony would be like, why? And he's like, you don't understand. I have to be out of this house. If you have to reduce my pay and put me in Ring of Honor, just fucking do it. Just fucking do it, Tony.
He's literally making shit up. He's literally just, honey, I gotta go. Why are you going? You're not even wrestling. I gotta go though. Like this is meeting thing. Like, and 6 months from now, she's just like, you're cheating on me, aren't you? No, I just want to get the fuck out of the house.
No, it's not going to take 6 months. It's going to take a week, and then she's going to tune into AEW 1 week or Ring of Honor 1 week and see him on TV, and she'll be like,
What are you doing?
What are you doing? Well, they needed me for TV. You're supposed to be retired. I have to raise these kids by myself. Well, your sister's there.
oh,
Clicks.
oh, man.
All I fucking hear about is the goddamn problem that she's going through. That's all I fucking goddamn hear about. And I need you home to take care of these fucking kids. But Tony needs me. Fuck Tony! I need you! Our marriage needs you! But honey, I'm the world champion. Doesn't fucking matter!
I don't care.
That's exactly what he's dealing with right
I
now.
know. Daddy,
He's
when are you coming home? When Auntie Nikki leaves. As soon as your auntie's gone, I'll come home. But Daddy, Auntie Nikki's going to be home for like 6 months. Then I'll see you in 7.
It's never 6. It's more than that.
It's always more.
It's always more, honey. She's lying to you.
There's always that margin of error. Oh, man.
And the Bryan Danielson retirement turns into 2027.
Everybody's like, holy shit. 2027.
Holy God. He's come through my town 3 times. Holy shit. This thing will never end.
If they keep going the rate they're going, they're going to end up in bingo halls again. He's going to end up as like the dude from The Wrestler. He really is at this
Strip club
point.
parking lot.
Yeah.
Hey, come to Tutti Fruities this Friday night. We see Bryan Danielson wrestling this Friday night. And don't forget to come inside. No cover charge. 21 plus. 2-drink minimum.
Get your free tickets to AEW All In at the event. Jesus.
Come meet Sky Blue as she'll be dancing between 9 and 12.
Cornbread, damn it, cornbread.
I mean,
Cornbread,
Yeah,
damn it, cornbread.
Exactly. Oh, that's all they would need to say. They wouldn't need to say anything else. They'd just be 9 and 12. We'll be there. Yeah, we're fucking there. Line fucking four blocks down. What's the cover? What's the cover?
Smoke.
Fuck. Exactly.
on that note, I think we've exhausted this conversation a little bit.
You know what, though? We have stayed on topic, though, with this
We
whole conversation.
have.
That entire
Except
bit
for the intro,
fits
but other than
into
that.
everything. Like, literally everything. That entire last bit fits into this conversation. That entire comedic bit. Like a whole SNL thing.
Ooh, rare.
Pretty much.
Ryan Daniels' entire career has come down to, I'm not coming home. Fuck this.
Brian Daniels'
Your sister's home. I'm not there. Fuck you.
His career was from, we are so sorry you have to go through this. We can't believe you're putting your body through this. To just, King, don't go home.
Yeah,
Just
you know
don't.
what? Now that I think about it,
Just don't go fucking home. I do feel bad for the family, though. Like, all jokes aside, like, I feel bad for his kids because, what quality of life is he going to have as he gets older, and especially as his kids get older? But for right now, just you do you, King. That's all I'm gonna say. Don't go home.
don't go home.
Daniel McDanielson, do not go home.
If this is your problem that you're now he's listening to this. And he probably went from hating me, and then all of a sudden he's sitting in bed right now with a pillow, and he's just like, he understands me. He understands what I'm going through. He understands I can't go home. You're right, Daniel. I've been married once, so I completely understand what you're going through.
He's sitting there, he's mad at first, and then he's hearing me say, like, he doesn't want to go home.
I had my mother-in-law stay with me for a week in 2000, like within the first year of my marriage. And yeah.
He's literally sitting there just packing his fucking bag right now, listening to this. Like, I'm fucking right.
He's listening to this, and he's just like, see, he gets me. Fucking gets it. You don't understand, Bree. He understands. Like, I
can see
I have
him
flashbacks now, and I'm just like,
man.
oh my God. Oh,
I could see him as one of those characters that's like hurriedly packing, looking out the window every like angle he possibly can as he like throws shit in his suitcase and packs it and closes it like freaking old school briefcases, clip, grabs it, running out the door. Bree's pulling in the driveway, like, where are you going? And he's like sticking his freaking collar up, trying to hide from her as he gets in the car and skids away. I could see it.
there was one incident, and I have to share this one because it's the only time I've really been. I'm not a person that really gets uncomfortable. Sometimes I can turn things and make them from uncomfortable into really funny. But this is one of those times in my life where it's just like, nothing I will do is going to make this better. It was like within the first or second night that she stayed there, and they just fought. They got into a fight in the dining room area, and I literally got up and left and went to the kitchen and like went and just kind of leaned on the counter, and that was it. I just was like, I'm not saying fucking anything. And then I went up.
You're a lot better with that than me because I have a range of reactions. One is to just make popcorn. Like the gifs and the memes. The other is to just go upstairs and put music on or something. The other one is to walk out the door and just drive away because I'm just like, whatever. And then the last one, and I don't drink nearly as much, obviously, these days, but the last one was to just, grab a bottle of hard alcohol, pour a shot, and just, sit and listen and drink.
I literally, I went into this kitchen and I just let things happen. And then I waited for the two doors to slam. And then I went upstairs and then opened the door and looked at my wife, who was just like, "You okay?" Dealt with that.
Hey, Dan. Hey, Dan.
Yeah.
That went well.
It did. It went well. It's my whole marriage.
Boo, rare.
But it was just always weird after one of those things where you know your job and what you have to do, but at the same time all you want to do is laugh your balls off because of everything that just happened. It's just like it's just you didn't do anything wrong, so you're just standing there, and then you're off in the corner somewhere, and you're just like, and all you want to do is laugh your balls and just say, "What the fuck just happened?" Laugh your balls off, and that's it. But you have to go upstairs.
I mean, what the fuck is that?
open the door.
Like, what is that?
Yeah. You know, you have to go upstairs, open the door, and tell her that she was right. Because that's if there's ever a piece of advice that I can give any human being ever, even a guy, if they're fighting with, but with women especially, the only piece of advice I can give you right now, if they're fighting with their mother, something like that, you let it happen. You just go upstairs, open the door, let her know she's right, and that's it. Like, end it. Because if you say anything otherwise, you're fucking dead. Go, just get your shit and get the fuck out of the house because it's over. Like, if you don't say you were right, just get out.
Well,
just leave the house.
Just saying this is part of the reason why I walk away or leave, because yeah, I don't have that filter, really.
Right.
I just don't. Which is probably why most of my relationships weren't successful, but it is what it is.
I try to be diplomatic, which I feel like that I'm kind of like France in that situation where I just go off to the corner and have a cigarette. I'm just like, you two fight.
Buongiorno.
Exactly. I'm Roger from American Dad. I just go off to the corner someplace.
I'm thinking more of Inglorious Blast.
Exactly. I'm fucking Brad Pitt. I just go off in the corner with a cigarette and I'm just letting those two fight in the end. I'm just like, like, just like, I'm not even a referee. I'm just like, fuck this. You just, like, you walk away. You're just, no, not doing it. No, not saying nothing.
You're that barmaid in the movies that is always in a bar fight scene and she's just like, spinning around them to not spill or break the glasses. That's you.
This conflict, fuck this. I'm gone. I'm leaving. I'm like that with everything. Like, it's just, it's just times where it's just like, well, I know where this is going.
Unfortunately, I didn't know that because I did not know we were going here. So,
even with group chats, I don't even do that. I'm just like, I'm going to take a piece. They don't have side chats with people and kind of, that's the last thing that I ever wanted to do, with people was kind of just, lay out bare where people see it publicly.
Well, that too.
So, yeah.
I thought we were going a different route for a second when you brought that up. But.
Well, of course. I always somehow twist and turn things.
Hoorah!
Exactly. As always.
All right.
So Jesse Ventura with the Legend signed his Legends deal. So that's only fueling rumors about him and Saturday Night's main event.
Well, it depends if they make it a continuous thing.
So that well, I'm hearing like quarterly. So they're doing it kind of like how they were in the 80s, and which also there's no PLEs in December. And now you look at it, and I'm just like, well, there's a good reason why.
Yeah.
They really don't need them. And it's going to be streamed not only on NBC, but on Peacock at the same time. So I was like, does that mean I'm going to have to NBC watching it? No, I can watch it on Peacock.
Yep.
So, excited for that.
Yep.
So that's I guess that does it for us this week. We veered off a little bit in the woods, only in the little percentage, folks. Like, actually, tonight we tried to stay on topic, even with the little comedy that we did with Daniel Bryan Danielson, whatever the fuck his name is, or like what Max said earlier, Brian Mac Danielson.
Daniel McDanielson.
Gail McDanielson, which I think is perfect. Which honestly, that should be a soundbite. We're just going with that from now on. Dale McDanielson. Thank you.
Just remind me, and it'll make it happen. Don't worry.
Dale McDanielson. Dale McDanielson. Dale McDanielson. All of a sudden he appears. Shit. Fuck.
Yeah, he's not fucking Beetlejuice. Come on.
You gotta fucking, if you say it 3 times, you have to duck because he's gonna hit you with that fucking knee. Like, he just shows up out of nowhere. All of a sudden, you hear the yes chant. You're like, what the fuck just happened? Ah, shit! Fuck! Hit me in the nose!
What?
Fucker!
Thinking of something right now, and I can't put my place on it. But basically, like Rochambeau for it, but something different, but relatively close to that.
Rochambeau, the greatest game ever invented.
You gonna play Rochambeau? Okay, I'll start.
I go back to those early episodes of South Park, and it's just like, he's only gotten worse over the years.
You know, it's funny you say that because I really have been thinking lately, like, I need to start rewatching and watch, like, some of the newer stuff because I haven't watched South Park in years at this point.
Yeah, it's been a few for me, too. I think it's just
Family
hard
Guy
because...
too, actually, for me. I stopped with a lot of them because they got, like, low periods. It's just, whatever, you know? I don't know, like, what it is, but some of them just stop being that funny for me.
It's funny with people when they tell me that Family Guy has kind of gotten less funny, and it's like, because there's still a lot of things that I felt like the last couple of... They did have a lull.
They did have a lull.
100%. They did have a slight lull. I think, though, in the last 4 or 5 years, though, they really kind of picked it up, where they've kind of entered their phase again of just not giving a shit.
Yeah.
There were a few years where, though, that they did under a lull, especially when they killed Brian off. That was fucking stupid.
Yeah.
But yeah, they realized their ways, or that was just a cheap ploy, which that chased a lot of people off. That was also so weird because I was living in Hartford at that point, and I remember I came home one night, or I was leaving the building one night, and a friend of mine, and the kid said to me, he's just like, they killed Brian on Family Guy. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, they killed Brian on Family Guy. I'm like, you're kidding me. And sure enough, they did. And then, of course, they brought him back a month later. I was just like, well, that was fucking stupid.
Yeah, but that was the same with me, and that's around the time I stopped watching it because you kill him off, and I'm like, okay, what's gonna happen here? And then he's off for a few episodes, and then he's back, and I'm just like, yeah, if you're trying to do like, ironically, we're talking about storytelling and booking. If you're trying to do like long-term storytelling or booking on this show, first of all, you don't really need to. Second of all, why would you kill a character off and just bring him back? Like, it's not like Cleveland, who got his own show. You completely killed the character.
It made no sense. It just didn't. And it just didn't make sense because it's never been a show. And The Simpsons have never been lineal. They've never been lineal. None of those shows have been episodic lineal. They're shows. They're put on. That's it. Like, they have no meaning. Like, they have funny storylines that people watch, and that's pretty much it. And that's it. Like, cutaway. That's it. That's all we need. We don't need this fucking bullshit of just like this long-term. Oh, it's just like, oh, we killed Brian. Really? Why? Oh, we're going to bring him back in a month. For what?
Then why kill him?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, but I felt like that they kind of redeemed themselves after that.
I still think it took like a year
5 years.
Plus.
It did. No, it took them a couple of years to kind of get over that. But then I felt like that, and then they introduced like Stewie had a nemesis for a few years, which was fucking stupid. But other than that, I felt like that their episodes, especially there was one COVID episode where he had Fenway Park to himself, which is like, there's still things that are really funny where it's just like either you're local, but also, because again, they're based out of New England. So with us, they have local references where we're just like, haha. But it's like Leo DiCaprio and those memes. Like we're just every time they do a local reference. But no, they've done in the last few years. I felt like that they've gotten to their and it's the same thing with American Dad. It's like they've gotten to their who gives a shit phase.
I actually think it's a great topic because we talked about this in the past where I was not really a wrestling fan for a while. It all comes back to wrestling.
Yes.
But, I was not a fan for a while because I stopped liking the product. There's a lot of stuff I didn't like about it. And hearing some of the horror stories, especially in the late 2010s, it's like, just gonna keep not watching it. But, I think now it's just clicking on all cylinders and all gears, and a lot of these other shows have kind of made their resurgence, like The Simpsons, like Family Guy, all those other shows. South Park's another one too, where I feel like it did have somewhat of a down period, at least for me as well. But I think that's it for me.
It's funny that you mentioned that, but it's just like because I needed to bring this up because it's kind of a thought I've had for a while. Where I look at WWE right now and I look at the rest of kind of what we've dealt with television, movies, and things like that, because you look at Joker 2 this past weekend, which everybody has been talking about. What just pile of shit
I
that
was
is.
thinking about seeing it too, which is funny because then I heard how shitty it was.
But which was, I mean, I knew it was going to be not the first one, which again, I did not expect the first one to really needed a sequel to begin with. But the second one, I was just like, okay, it's musical. Lady Gaga's in it. Okay. Lady Gaga's a pretty good actress. Okay. Oh, fuck, they can fuck this up right there. Yeah, they fucked it up. So I think the hard part, what I meant was when I was thinking that, when it was just like, I look at WWE and I'm the only one right now I feel like putting out quality content because it's like no one's really talking about much anywhere else. Of course, I'm in my bubble, but it's like I don't hear people talking about like shows on TV that like are must see television where they can't miss.
I feel like that's not the case anyways with all the streaming services.
Yeah, but also it's not only just a streaming service too, but it's like I look at movies and obviously there are exceptions like Deadpool, Wolverine. That's an exception. And Beetlejuice, which I did see, was good, not great. And it also I got to get a rewatch too to kind of get more of a sense. But I look at what wrestling has been able to do, and I look at wrestling and its consistency and its content-driven narrative that they have done in the last 5 years, not 5 years, but the last 2 years or so with Triple H and Power. And I think to myself that WWE is kind of the leader right now as far as like creative content is concerned, because I don't see really any other thing on the horizon that is able to match what they have been able to do in the last couple of years, especially.
I don't think so either.
Because they have been able to do things and been able to have people talking more. Like I look at the last two WrestleManias when everybody on the planet was talking about it. Like we were even talking about how Peacock at certain points during the main event were slowing down. There were so many people watching.
Yep.
And and it's for the industry, it's fantastic. Where I even have to look at AEW and it's just like, well, I'm glad they got their deal. And I'm glad that they're able, I am, because it's like other wrestlers are going to be able to have a safe place to work. So from that perspective, meaning their checks are going to cash, not necessarily safe.
You're just killing it now.
Yeah, I really am. Right. Everybody's just like, oh, he's just sarcastic. That's when I know it's time to cut it off.
Hey, I've been trying for the last 5 minutes, so
I know you have. So I'll take the hint now. It took me 5 minutes. Yes. On that note, everybody. Well, I'd like to thank everybody again for joining us here on PWW Talks. It has been great being able to talk about Bad Blood. I hope everybody else enjoyed it as much as we did. And of course, to talk about the troubles in AEW. Seems to be our almost comedy segment every time that we're able to do it. Because somehow we just... Exactly. So, Mac, you got anything else to close out tonight?
No, I hope people in Florida are safe as much as you can be. Good luck with your insurance claims. I don't mean that sarcastically as much as it sounded like it. I am truthful. Otherwise, if you're an AEW fan, sorry, not sorry. Hope you enjoy your pay-per-view this weekend. If you're a WWE fan, you have a couple of weeks. We'll talk about Crown Jewel in the upcoming weeks. We'll probably do some kind of a segment next week about top 5 Hell in the Cells. We'll have to see. And also we have other content coming. Stay tuned.
Yes. So on behalf of myself and Mac, thank you for joining us. Be sure to check out us here on The Shoot. Not The Shoot. What am I doing? Here at PWW Talks, make sure to check us out on Diamond Podcasting Productions. And, of course, check us out on Spotify and on Apple and anywhere else you can get podcasts. So be sure to do that. And also look for us on social media as well, Diamond Podcasting Productions, on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, maybe, I don't know, and Twitter, of course, as well. So thank you, everybody, and be sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you all again real soon. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah!